Good morning, traders. What's going on, guys? It's the bounce back day. Of course, yesterday I was a little tired to start the day, but today I'm super excited, guys. I know you can hear it in my voice. It's a big day for us, guys. Brand new programs out right now. Don't miss it, guys. We'll be talking about it right here. And these are some great opportunities. The best part, we created a two-step style, right? Where you could get the flex and the max. We'll talk all about it on today's show. We'll get to the trading action. Quantum day coming soon. I'm watching those quantum stocks. We'll talk about more in the playbook today. And of course, we'll take a look at what's going on in the market, right? It seems like we're in this battle right now of the rally back. Is it today a rally alert? Well, we'll be calling it here. We'll be watching to see what happens. And will Powell signal for some rate cuts? All things to be talked about, right? Of course, I don't think that he's going to do a rate cut today, but could he signal for something coming down the line? And that itself could push the market higher, thus giving them opportunity to also stay further and further on the sideline. So I think that's a very important outlook to keep watch. Let's get to the action. We'll take a look at the playbook. We'll take a look at some trading action. I was trying to take a trade on QUBTS this morning, already cut out for just a small little, like literally $10 loss there in the pre-market. I'm watching to see what happens today. I think it's a very important day. Yesterday, it was the pain for the bulls. The ones that got too excited, at least. If you held off of lows and you're kind of swing trading, you're still hanging in there. So I think we got to take a look to see what type of plays we can come up with. Let's get to that action. And just for everybody's up out there, hey, pinkies up, guys. Fresh espresso, ready to go. It's going to be a beautiful day, guys. It's Trade the Pool. Let's get to the action. Let's take a look at today's playbook. All right, traders, let's go ahead. Let's pull up the screen here, and you guys can see my QBTS there, and you guys can see the little cutout there. It was a very small one. I was looking for it to recover 1080s, and that's exactly what I'll do. If it can recover that, even in the pre-market, I don't mind taking the trade. There you guys see it right there, guys. The 1150 after the fees there. But let's talk about what trades I'm looking at today, guys. So, of course, the quantum names, right? There's so many of these that we can look at, guys. They're all kind of going side by side, right? I'll even pull up this screen where I have them all kind of next to each other, right? So you got Rigetti, QMCO, QUBT, and then there's QBTS, there's IonQ. There's about 5 different names here that we can definitely take a look at. And, of course, the NVIDIA Quantum Day is tomorrow, but I think today's the day where definitely you can maybe see another lift. We had a good lift on Monday, a little bit of a pullback on Tuesday. I've been playing it long and short. That's the important thing. You got to be able to flip, right? Well, yesterday I actually shorted QBTS right out the gates and made some great money, guys. So I'll be looking to see if I can get one of these trades again. Is it long? Is it short today? Who knows? It could flip. I am looking at QBTS, QBT, another one, right? QUBT. We'll see if this one can get back above 9. Those are probably my 2 favorite ones, QUBT and QBTS. Rigetti, not so much, but something definitely on the radar today. Keep your eyes on all these names. They could be getting a nice lift. And of course, that's just kind of the buy the rumor, sell the news event. Tomorrow, I wouldn't be looking positive on these, but we'll have to wait and find out. Of course, maybe they can make some announcements on that quantum day, give themselves a little push. We'll have to wait and take a look at that. Let's kick it over to the next one here on the playbook. And like always, you guys can smash the like and take a look at the playbook every single morning on our Twitter. We put it out there, guys, and it's all about giving you guys a look into the market of how we're seeing, maybe, at least for myself, some plays in the market. And like always, I think everybody should have their own playbook every single day, looking at stocks, looking at setups, and continuing to watch to see what happens, right? It's kind of like your morning watch list. You should have that ready to go, exactly what you're looking for. All right, we'll see what happens there. Let's go to another play that has been hot, which has been what? Intel. And where did you guys hear about Intel? Before even this day, Well, you guys know your boy Money Mitch was keeping an eye on this one, and there's a reason why. It was all about, could we go back into that gap spot, right? We created this, and I love that it always takes the time here. Created this originally on November 25th, and that was when it was coming for this break here. Now we're looking to see, can it go back into that area, right? Well, we've been kind of struggling right above here. So it would make sense for me to see a little bit of a pullback today. So I am calling it kind of the pullback day on Intel, right? You've had 2-3 days up. Now you could get that crack of 25 even here in the pre-market, and it could go lower. So I'm looking at this one as a potential short right out the gates for it to come back down towards 24s and even lower. Maybe even here in the pre-market, especially if the market could start to make a little bit of a downturn here. This doesn't look bad at all. Already rejecting here in the 25-30s. And this just happened, guys, 15 minutes ago. So let's take a look at the 1 minute, and you can see, literally maybe 3 minutes before this. Well, you know your boy Money Mitch looking for the trades here. And I think this is just a pullback opportunity. And it's one way that you could play the short side in the quick trade and then look to see in a swing trade or longer term, looking to catch it on the 9 EMA on the daily. Of course, that comes into exactly around the 23.76. So somewhere in there is where I could look for the pullback. Like I just mentioned, I moved to 24. Well, 23.74 right there. Pretty close, right? We'll see what happens here on Intel. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's go to the next one on the playbook. The next one's going to be one that was here yesterday. It was the VXX. I talked about potentially long through the 49, and that's exactly what we got yesterday, but it was a very hard trade to catch. It was right out the gates. It went down to 49.03, and boom, right back above it. So now that we're holding this 50 spot, can we come back to it and kind of actually click it? Because if you look yesterday, we only pulled back to around 50.22. So I'm looking for one more cut down into that support, which is right here around the kind of the 50.33 level, and then actually undercutting that and then getting right back above. So what I'd like to see is to see if we can get this undercut towards the 50 area and then a recovery right back. What would that involve? Well, that would involve, of course, the market coming up first and then a pullback coming into the market. And why? Because I think today is going to be one of those days where you might have a little bit of some kind of flickering back and forth until Jerome Powell speaks later today. Of course, this is FOMC day, guys, meaning what? Meaning that there will be a press release at 2 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss that. You can get that right off the federal website. And then, of course, at 2:30, the fireworks begin as, of course, the prepared speech that is put out at 2 p.m. gets read by Jerome Powell. But everyone cares about one thing. It's all about the questions and answers, right? The Q&A side of things. And will he signal potential rate cuts, or will he stay on the game that, hey, we're looking to see continued data. We're looking to see what happens with inflation first before we start the cutting. And I think that this is just the way the Fed plays, right? We'll talk more about it with our guest today, Giles Coughlin, CMT across the pond. Excited to get him on. He'll be on a little bit later today, guys, 10:30. Stay tuned for that. That's going to be an exciting moment. And of course, we'll have Michael Noss. We'll talk a little bit more about the Fed conversation. Today's definitely more of that macro focused day. So stay alert out there, traders. And then tomorrow, of course, we'll get more initial jobless claims and things like that could develop. Friday, options expiration. Keep your eyes open, guys, as stocks will be making a big move. And a lot of puts probably going to have to be making decisions here. So we'll see what happens out there, guys. Let's keep it moving. Of course, the VXX on the radar. We'll get to the Sunrise report next in just a second here. Of course, that's what stocks are moving and why. And we got to take a look around, right? Maybe there's some catalyst that we can drive and build off of. But of course, guys, keep pushing out there, guys. There's some new programs that we'll talk about. I'll wait for Michael to hop on to talk a little bit more about that. But I'll tell you right now, I'm super excited, guys, because I'm looking to step up. I want to go for a big boy account, right? I've already got a funded small one. Need to go ahead and take some bigger swings. So ready to step it on up. Get ready, because that's the important thing, guys, is always taking it to the next level. And that's what we're all about here at Trade the Pool. Let's take a look at the Sunrise report. Let's see what's moving out there and what we could possibly be catching today. All right, traders, quantum names kind of pulling back a little bit there too. And we could get a little bit of a red to green action. That was a reason why I cut out also. But let's talk about the important things, right? The big bad wolf himself, Jerome Powell. As that's what I call him, guys. He is the big bad wolf, man. He can come and blow your house down if he wants to. So no rate change expected, but the focus is on. And the federal economic projections will be very analyzed today. Look to see what happens to the dot plot. That's what they call it. And you can get that right on the federal website, right? Just look up the CME Fed tool, and there's a lot of information right there, guys. Investors will analyze GDP, inflation, unemployment forecast for the market direction. So keep your eyes out, guys. Will Powell calm the market or shake things up? All things to be had, right? Let's get to the action first. Today, first stock that we'll talk about is HQY. Not one that I talk about often. I'll tell you right now, I probably have said this name maybe once. So let's talk a little bit more about it here. HQY is health equity. We're talking in the health information area. And I'm going to put this a little bit bigger so we can see the chart, right? If we look at the daily, let's go to the daily, look back and see what we're seeing. And you could clearly see that there's some support coming into play. Let's go to the weekly to kind of clean this up. This is what you can do as a trader, right? Look at the weekly, look how it's going. And then now you see an expansion for sure of the ATR as this has been getting a nice little lift. I always try to look to the left, not the right, and they can see that it's kind of got through this resistance there, but I'd call it around the 84.50 spot, right? And if we look at where we're at right now, where we go down to, we just recently went down there towards 84.49. So it's right on the hammer there. We'll see what happens if this starts to act as support. Let's see what the MACD is showing here, and it's showing that ugly turnaround on the weekly. And you can see the stock here. When this weekly has turned around, right? Like right here, it was at 74. It has come down, right? When the weekly has turned around, right? It was going up, started to break here. You got a negative, a nice little downfall, then a little move back trying to get through the resistance, and it fails, right? And so at this point, this doesn't look good here. Looks like there could be some further downside coming in for this HQY. Of course, their weak earnings not helping things, missing the expectation, reported a 69-cent EPS versus a 72-cent expected. Revenue was a slight beat at $311.8 million versus a $305.8 million expected outcome here. So, of course, weaker earnings definitely going to affect this stock. We'll see what happens in the health information services today. Not a bad area to be looking at, but at the same time, this one starting to really struggle. Let's move over now to General Mills. As General Mills, who's getting their cereal today? Not General Mills, at least, as this is starting to fall. And this is a good sign for, I would say, for the bulls. Because one thing you want to start seeing is that some of these staples in the XLP start to pull back. And look how the XLP has pulled back already, right? This is a really good indicator to also watch today to see if we get further pullback in the staples and start to see the uplift going back here. If the opposite happens, if the market starts to come down, the staples start to come back up. So there's some re-rotation or rotation holding from the original entry around this gap spot, right? Like that's what I would be looking at. This gap spot right here is very important. We start to undercut that, and I'll start thinking that, yeah, we're going right back to all-time highs. But if we don't undercut that, we could actually bounce here and get right back up, right? So I'll draw that line there to keep me watching for it, and we'll see if it gets back into that gap zone. All right, that's the XLP. That's the look into, of course, General Mills lowered their full year guidance there. Q3 revenues missing the expectation, and they cited headwinds and softer demand. Main key point there, softer demand. What is that telling me? The consumer is struggling. This is where I think I've caught this a little bit faster than most. And this is why it's so important to stay with the trends. Everyone's thinking that things are looking good underneath the hood, but the truth is it's not. We've been talking about it. The car delinquencies, the consumer action, the GDP revisions, all showing that, right? And I think that now we're on alert. We're on alert, and bad news could definitely be taken as bad news right now. So watch out there, guys. It isn't looking good this morning, and we'll see if we can continue in the battle. All right, guys, let's see what happens there. General Mills pulling back there, and we'll see if we can continue lifting. Maybe we can get out of this, but there's some struggle in the market. All right, let's keep going in the Sunrise Report. Next one up, Goldman Sachs. Suck. You guys know how I feel about Goldman, but let's take a look here, guys. Let's see if this starts to bounce here and is able to hold. Of course, XLF, one of my most important sectors for the week. Oppenheimer downgrading here from outperform to perform. A lack of M&A rebound weighing on the sentiment. So this just tells me more and more, guys, that GS, of course, Goldman Sachs could be struggling here. And that's a little bit of concern for the XLF. Like I mentioned before, this is what I needed to see come back if we really were going to lead the rally back. If this goes right back to the low, this is what's called a dead cat bounce, right? And so we'll see what happens here, guys. Is this just a bounce and we can't even get back to the 50 EMA? That would be a very negative sign for the market, taking out the lows and going through this. That's when you'll start to hear more and more mentions of what? Markets. Roar! The bear market's coming to get you guys. Oh no, the dad noise is coming out already. Smash the like if you guys are enjoying the action this morning. You guys know where you're at. It's a great day today, guys. Brand new programs out. We'll talk all about it throughout the show. We'll even take a look to see what's going on out there. I know the songs have been a little bit messed up, so how's the audio here with the song? Let me know, guys. How's it doing? The audio is getting a little bit off. Let me know in the chat, guys. It's good to see you guys out there. Good morning to you guys. Smash the like. Got to get some more traders in here. This should be coming in here in just a second, probably closer towards 9 a.m. Of course, we'll be looking to see what we get today. Audio is all good. Hey, good to hear it, Shane. Let's keep taking a look to see what else is out there. And how you been, Shane? How's the account treating you? I know that you've been battling on those funded accounts. And did you see our new accounts? I think you'll like some of these, especially the evals. We'll talk more about it once Michael comes on, but you guys can see from me, I'm excited. I'm ready to go. QMCO getting a little lift here. Let's see what we can come up with. Let's take a look at some of the stocks before, of course, Michael coming on. We got about 8 minutes for that. We can take a look at sectors and things like that I like to focus on. And like I've mentioned, guys, I'm really closely watching to see what happens here. Let's go to the SPY. I want to kind of pull this out a little bit more. Let's go to the hourly. And remember how I talked about, would we create the inverse head and shoulders? Yesterday, it actually created that right hand shoulder. This is what I was talking about, how I felt like some people were stretching the pattern. And now we actually have the pattern, right? Shane saying, struggling, Mitch, currently in 500 on the down draw on the funded account. Don't worry, Shane. I was there on the downfall too, right? And I'm proud to say it, at least. I've been able to work my way out of the pool, right? Sometimes you're in the pool and you're doing well. Sometimes you're in the pool and you're not doing so well, my friend. So don't worry about that. The important part, how are you going to get it back? That's the important part, guys. You guys know I always try to show you guys everything and show you guys. One thing I've been noticing too is that with this move, one thing that I had to do, Shane, is I slightly adjusted my risk to return. Of course, I was going for more 4-to-1s and even maybe closer towards 5-to-1. I was looking for 3-to-1s always, but the truth is I was starting to get better rewards and it started to slow down. So of course, I took one big hit, and that's always something that you always want to catch, right? If I didn't have this big hit, I'd be way higher than I am already, right? That's a very important thing to catch because that's the number one thing that can wreck us, right? That one loss that we just let go pushing a little bit more, right? So one thing that definitely is helping me is I slightly adjusted it, and now I'm at 1 to 2.6 instead of a 1 to 3. At 1 to 2.6. But look at the success rate, guys. The success rate hasn't even been high on this account, yet we're doing fine. This just shows me more and more. It's about risk to return. It's about focusing. It's about trying to take high quality trades. And of course, sometimes you're going to get into this rut kind of look. We're getting through it. We're working through it. And you can see it's not a straight drive up. It's kind of choppy, but continuing in the uptrend. That's what we want to continue to do, guys. So yesterday, of course, nice $115 win, and then some small losses, just trying to give myself an opportunity for a bigger move. All right, guys, we'll see what else is out there and what else we can come up with, at least back into the break even. And I know how it is, man. Stay in the battle, my friend. We'll see what happens. Working on another mini BP account at the moment at 950 on it. So hopefully to get there soon on that one. Hey, wish you the best of luck, my friend. I think you'll go ahead and kill it here. And I know I'll be hearing that you have another one soon. So, hey, go ahead and knock that one out. And sometimes it's okay to take a day off from the funded account and maybe just focus on that mini, right? Get your mojo back. Get that feeling back where you feel like you're on top of things, Shane, and then get after it, my friend. Wish you the best of luck. Steph, what's going on? Good morning. Not a great morning to get in anything to trade. BDTX really the only one that I can scalp. Yeah, I'll tell you right now, BDTX was one that I was looking at this morning. I was watching it through the first pop, and I'll show you guys the first pop here. So the first pop was this one, where it was like kind of up here, and it was kind of starting to break through, and it was going towards like kind of the 230s. But I was like, this just doesn't seem to, like, I just want to jump in on this one. And it did kind of hold the trend, but it's not a big rip, right? We're not getting these big rips in the pre-market. There was LSE, where maybe I could have got a good trade on this one, because I was in the morning here at like 6:30, and I started to see this one pop. It did this pop right here, where it popped here towards like 1520s, and it was a quick move. It was like it took less than 10 seconds. It was up there, and I was watching this one as it was trying to get back there to 16, and it came back to 14, 1380s, and I was like, 14 seems to be the entry. And I was thinking about going at it with a small amount, maybe even 50 shares, just because the risk was like 13 easily. And so I had to be understanding that I had to risk $1. But this thing did make a nice little rip back up there to above 16. So it could have been a good trade. But if you look at it now, look where it's at now. It's right back down to 13. So that just goes to show you. I think in the small caps especially, we're having a little bit more chop. Remember when I've talked about small caps, I talk about that they come in favor and out of favor. So right now, I think the attention is going to these quantum names that are cheaper, right? There's some names that are getting big lifts that are continuing to move. And these small caps, the ones that we normally look at, are just not getting that big juice, right? I'm not looking in the morning in my scanner, and I'm not seeing 300 or 400% movers. When we start to see this again, Steph, that is going to be a good sign. So for right now, it does seem like there's some struggle in the small caps. Let's see if this starts to move again, right? This is something that we all got to go ahead and catch. Shane, what's going on? That's exactly what I'm doing this week, taking a break from the funded account and just focusing on the mini for the week to get the confidence back. 1000% agree, Shane. Couldn't do it better, man. And that's the truth. Sometimes you just need to go ahead and just get one account out of your mind, focus on the other one, start getting the confidence back, understanding that you know how to do this game. The key is when the funded account, the pressure comes, right? So how can we get off of that pressure? All things to be thinking about. And look into seeing what books can help you. I know might not be what you want to hear, Shane, but sometimes it's like a book that can just give you that lift, right? Sometimes when you're reading a book, books can, you can grab the knowledge from it, but a lot of times we get like this immediate boost from a good book, right? Go look for that book. Maybe you can get a nice little lift. I'll be talking with Michael. I know he's out there probably already thinking, yeah, there's a couple books that I know, right? He's mentioned before, I think it's Think Fast, Think Slow. That book right there, I probably said it wrong and I butchered it, but I'll tell you right now, it's even on my back of the head of reading it. So I've been, of course, getting through some audiobooks, and I can show you guys some audiobooks that I've been listening to. I think it's important, guys. And I do have some extra credits. So you know what? Today might be that day where we start to give out one of those audiobooks. I love to help people out and give them away as gifts also. Of course, I have Audible from Amazon. It's just like a $16 a month subscription. it is a little bit hefty in the price, but it gives me the ability and the wife ability to just continue taking in those audibles and pushing forward. So, of course, guys, we're going to start the show. It's a great day today. New programs. We'll talk all about it with Michael coming up. We'll take a look into the market. We'll see what's going on. Is the right shoulder in on the inverse head and shoulders? Will we get the up move now? Like I always say, in day trading, you got to be nimble. You got to be quick. And where you got to be? Right here, of course, on TTP Live. Let's get it started, team. Google wants 200, baby. You ready to get back to the trading action?
You aim, you shoot, and make money.
It's going to be a great day. You guys know where you're at. Good morning, traders, to you guys. Let's go ahead. Let's bring on the man himself, the man with the snow never ends. Michael Nas. What's going on, my friend? How we doing? What? What?
It's all gone.
It's a hoax. This is not Michael. Somebody go check on wellness check on Michael.
Thankfully, and finally, yes, it's all gone, at least for now. I shouldn't jinx myself. I'm gonna cause a storm.
There's always, like I like to say, when I was in Colorado, there's like the second winter where spring comes for like a second. You're like, oh, things are looking good. The weather's coming up. All of a sudden, you get this random snowstorm in Colorado. It'd be like coming in like May. I'm like, what are you snowing in May for?
Just to remind you, right? It can do it anytime.
Yeah. To remind you that it'll be back. Don't forget, winter's coming back.
Absolutely.
All right, my friend, let's talk about this market. I feel like it's been a little bit of that, where the uncertainty for a second there was as high as it ever could be. We finally took a little bit of that rally back. Yesterday, I think, was the day that shake all those people that just get too excited really quickly. So could today be that day where we get the recovery and we're right back in that rampant mode? I think it definitely could happen. Of course, it's a big day. It's FOMC day, right? So Jerome Powell will be definitely watched. And like I mentioned in the title, would he signal maybe rate cuts down the line? I think that's what everyone's going to be looking for. What is that conversation? What is that rhetoric like on what he's looking at, right? Of course, he's going to mention that he's worried about inflation. I don't think that's not going to be there. But I think one of the things he's starting to notice, the market's coming down a little bit, right? And so I think some of the times, like these talking heads can make a mention just to kind of like save the market. Like I felt like the first time he made the pivot call, and he didn't really pivot, but he mentioned the word pivot, right? And mentioned that there could be cuts. What happened to the market? It just started ramping and booming. And I was like, man, did this guy just save the recession? That's what I talked about with Dennis Dick also when that happened. And I was like, was this his way of like almost like front running a little run, like causing a little bit of a spike because he was worried about the big move down? So those are the things that I'm thinking about could happen today. We'll have to take a look, right?
Yeah, and I would go so far as saying any price action that happens before he talks, and very specifically before he talks, not even including the number, because we all know the number, right? They're not going to do anything. It's like a 99.9 whatever percent chance. So I would say the numbers are relevant. You will get some craziness that happens there, because I think with the number they release like a document that's the internal
it's at
note.
2 p.m. 2 p.m. So
you'll get some movement there, but even that's irrelevant.
The prepared speech, as I always call it. And that's the same thing that he reads when he goes on, right? That's why he's looking down and just literally reading. He's not giving you anything. It's just a Q&A that matters, right?
Until he leaves, because yes, everyone's waiting for the Q&A. So until he leaves the stage, I would say anything that happens in the market today is kind of completely irrelevant. I don't even have my swing trading broker open. I won't know the P&L there because the way I look at it, it's choppy. And I think it's important for people to know this, right? So generally speaking, what happens, and I'm sure you have experience with this too, trading, Mitch, is you get some movement off the open, and then everything dies.
Yeah,
Everything just
it is.
dies like nothing
'Cause
happened,
the
and
big
they
boys are
wait.
just hanging out, right? Let's be
Yep.
honest. The big boys on a day like today, this is the day that they start doing research, they start looking
Yeah.
around, they're talking
Hmm.
to different people about what trades they're looking at. They're not really
Yeah.
doing too much action this
Right.
morning, right?
Yeah,
Because
they'll see what the close is like, and then tomorrow will be an interesting
yeah.
day. So
Yeah,
I just
so
think it's very
imbalance
important.
is also, right, like, at the close will be another thing to look for, like, right, can there be
Yeah.
some bigger orders trying to get in at the end of the market, right? And we
Hmm.
all know that this always happens, but of course, on a day like today, they could be slightly bigger, right? And
Yeah.
that's something that a lot of traders like Dennis Dick that trades the after hours will be watching. So I think that this is something that will be really fun when the markets turn, like, maybe 24 hours down the line, right? Because
Mm.
these are the days where things can change, and all of a sudden, after hours, the market just goes like tick, 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 tick. And then you
Yeah.
come in the next day and you're like, dude, they didn't even give me a chance. Truth is, you might have to come in the after hours, and that's tough. That's tough trading.
Or you
Mhm.
systematize things, right? That's what I've been trying to
Exactly.
pound on the table. If all of your trading is automated, you're just kind of checking things out. But yeah, this is the SPY, and this is kind of what I'm looking at. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if we stay in this range. So this was the anchored view app from the current low that we talked about a lot. We had Steve on yesterday. We were trading. You can see, obviously not to the tick, but just did absolutely nothing all day, right? I was just memeing on
Yeah.
Twitter because there was nothing to do in the market. But right, bounced off that level over and over and over and over again, but couldn't get going from the high. So again, we anchor view app to, so this is the swing high. If we go to a daily chart, right, essentially anchoring it from this point down here to this point up here, right? So saying what's going on with this bounce. It's the only thing I care about. The view app from way up here is going to be a long way away, so that's not going to come into play for a long time. But what's going on with the low and then the high of the bounce? And then from there, it just ends up being, if we're inside this range, I don't really think there's much of anything to do from a market standpoint. And then if we break to the upside, that could be, a continuation up here, or to the downside, a continuation here. But I don't, even if this happened right off the open, I don't think I'd trust it. So if anything, I'm looking more, if I am going to trade the market as a whole today,
Mhm.
I'm going to more or less look to fade it. And when we start talking about
Can't
these new
blame you.
accounts, I think that's what I'm going to be asking the boss for, is one of them big boy accounts, so I can start trading
Yeah,
the
yeah,
S&P
yeah. We need
500.
my spying power. My
Yeah.
spying power.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
because I
man.
think, right, so with the account that I have, right, the goal is just to grind that with the system I have.
Yeah.
And then, like a lot of people were talking here, is that, sometimes they're having, a hard time with their particular system and style. Like I saw Steph and Shane talking about their particular style is just not working right now. And that's okay, right? That's just
It
part of the
happens.
game.
Yeah.
That's why I'm always looking for, how can I systematize my trading as much as possible so that I can look at more systems, because this might be the time where, because the volatility is in the market, that's probably why you're seeing less of these crazy, low float names, is because if you're a trader, you can get your juice just from trading the market, right? Trading a double or triple leverage version of the market. You don't need to trade these crazy stocks. So it just might be the
Yeah.
fact that that's what's going on. So I want to make sure I have multiple systems and always be trading those multiple systems, but just hoping that one of them is performing like a star. So the next system I think I want to work on is just entirely market related, ETFs. So I'm going to make a list, right? I've got the futures here, but I'm going to make a list of maybe some of the major ETFs. So talk about gold and silver and financials, some major ETFs, and then just do what we were talking about with the undercut and rally kind of trade of defining a support zone. We obviously have support down here and resistance up here. So defining these zones, looking for a break, and then slam back down of them. And it might be another thing, like just like my current system that takes 4 to 5 trades a day. This will take another 2 to 3 trades a day. But I'm already thinking of ways to automate the alerting from it, right? Because again,
Yeah.
perfect world. I sit here, I watch the market, an alert comes through, I take a trade, and I move on. Uh, Keeps you very detached. Now, from what I'm looking at here, uh, so some of the names are little bit junkier than I'm used to, right? So this one, this KBXT FST Corp. This one was gapping down again. A lot of these have triggered off the open, so no trade there.
Just
LSE, same thing.
that's is that the steel name, that new one?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
that's a new steel name. So
yes, that one been a good short. And again, LSE you can see is a good short.
that
So
was a crazy one this morning, man. That LSE, man, it's a weird action. I'll tell you that much. I was watching the tape,
yeah,
and it's weird action, and you can just tell because I mean, for an oil company to go from 5 to 15 yesterday, there's something going on there, guys.
Oh,
So
yeah.
just be careful with that.
It's all
I
game.
think, yeah, that's one of those where you don't know where it's really heading, and it could be like one of those where fast profits make sense. Like this morning, could have done a 14 to 16 trade, right? I was just struggling with what the size to be because this thing was moving like I'll tell you, I watched it move $2 in less than like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So you got to be
Well,
careful
and
with
this is
opening a
why,
name like that, right?
right? So I'm working on this box up here. If anyone knows, someone asked for a little walk through on my my trading view, so maybe we'll do that
There you
later.
go. Yeah, we should
Like,
do that.
but yeah, this is just another little box that I made for myself where I can plug in whatever my risk per trade is. And basically, based off the pre-market high or the high of the day, whichever one's higher, it just suggests a number of shares. So
I
QUBT
love
was
it.
another one I was looking to short. I did end up taking this one short in the pre-market, but just showing that
Nice.
some of these moves just again might be pre-market moves. We'll see. Tesla, so that's triggering right now.
Intel getting hit right now. This is one I wanted to trade, man. It's already getting the flush down there.
Yeah, you
I'll
can
look
see
for
I
it to
have that on the
bounce,
list
man.
too.
Yeah, it seemed to me like a good day to go after this one, right? Because the reason why it started to move is also the rally kind of helped, right? It was a perfect timing kind of trade. And now you get that lull type of opening, right? Where we don't really know the market's going to be booming today. So those traders get kind of just on a wait and see kind of period. And that's usually when I can easily see a pullback come in, right? So it's a good opportunity. I like the 9 EMA pullback, maybe coming back there. But looks like we're already getting some action. What I'm going to be looking for in the open on this one is the 15-minute, like around 25.40. If you look at yesterday's action we went to a low of 25.39. So like, can we use that as kind of like a resistance, come back to it and then flush, right? So that's what I'll be watching for. Yeah, right around that area. If you can come back and kind of hit that, you see how we hit it right there. But I think at this one, this is kind of like I saw some sizing hanging out at 2490s. There was like 20,000 shares there. I think it just literally brought it to it like a magnet, right? And then now I'm going to look to see if it's going to get that bounce. But one definitely that I'm seeing already getting some action this pre-market.
Yeah, and for me, again, these are all going on the list for the same strategy. Some sort of gap is happening, and I'm just looking to fade those gaps.
I like it
one way or the other. So these are all the ones that are gapping. HQY, again, no idea what it is, but pretty sizable gap down. Right? I always like to go to the daily chart and say how much.
Have you ever heard of this stock before, Michael?
No.
All right, so I always have to ask another trader like that's serious like me because majority of the times I've heard every name, but this I don't even think I've heard it too often. At least that's for sure.
No, and sometimes those are the best names, right? Because the more liquidity, the less of an edge, and vice versa. SBLK, it's another one that I'm watching. This is a shipper. You can see nice little gap up, but we're just again looking to scalp these to the downside or to the reversal. This last is Signet Jewelers. So this has just been dumpster fire. This name.
This is a good one to look for dumpster fires, right? I mean, with consumer spending coming down, it's not a bad one to look for.
So so if all these things trigger, so I have the alert set. I think the last one was this STNE. Yeah, so this is one that triggered already here. Nice. So take a look. So there's my alert gold breaking down. So let's break this view up. So this is another, so from the future side of things. So this is the kind of thing where if I go that route of saying, okay, I have this VWAP fade strategy. Now let me look at something else to potentially trade. This is another one that I'm kind of interested in, where use the futures or use whatever and just come up with
Just
trade technically,
GLD, right? Like
trade
maybe
on patterns. Yeah.
I would keep it simple. If there's one that I think moves more with the future action, it's GLD. Right. Like,
Yeah.
so
So
like when I had like certain times in Benzinga, I would have to like say, like, where's gold doing today? I used GLD because I didn't have this, right? I didn't use the future there. So I would just use GLD as more as that indicator. Like for silver SLV, right? So
yeah.
uh
Yeah, so the idea would be, right? So I had an alert go off
mhm.
because I was just watching this VWAP and basically just looking at this as potential head and shoulders on gold. And then kind of like you mentioned, as the alert comes through, I just have a list of ETFs that I go to trade. Because like, I don't know, is there a double or triple gold futures?
There's J
Probably.
Nug, right? J Nug.
Oh, JNUG.
J Nug's the bull one. So of course you'd be kind of shorting that one. That's
Yeah.
a two leverage, 2-time leverage.
But yeah, so that would be the idea, right? Is I just once a day mark up a game plan for every single one of these futures contracts and then have a corresponding ETF that is leveraged, which is great. And then you just wait for those alerts to come through and take the trades with Trade the Pool through their ETF. So and with that, I might expand that out to ETFs and then maybe even some of the mega cap stocks and then the huge guys. And again, the idea being that this particular strategy that I'm doing right now is going to be good when things are gapping it, but I can already start to see the flaw of um, when you're in earnings season, this strategy is probably going to do amazing. When you're outside of earnings season, there's probably going to be less opportunities every day. It's probably not going to do as well. So again, that's why my whole thing, and that's what I do with swing trading, is multiple strategies. So it's kind of cool, and I like that I'm doing this with you guys on air, where it's you watch me build this strategy and then test it and then trade it and then pass the eval with it. So I consider this pretty much done at this point. I just need to continue to trade it and maybe do some tweaks here or there. But then it's always on to the next strategy. So I'm thinking that a little more or mega cap, trade more of like TQQQ and that type of thing. And then for that, again, you'd need a larger account because there's just more buying power required for that one of those things. So again, just always just going through the road of what strategy is next and then trying to take you guys along with it, because in a perfect world I've got like 10 strategies. And
Alert
because of the
on
multi-strategy
quantum
strategy.
names. I'm trying to get long on QBTS, guys. My alert just went off for the 1080 break here. It could just be a kind of a wick trying to get me in. That's okay. I just got that entry there, 1080 here. So the key here is I'm just holding off like kind of 1070s. I'm looking for maybe just a go move out the gates. And we'll see what happens there. But taking the shot here for the recovery. And this is one day before the event. Like I've mentioned, I definitely tomorrow will not be like so bullish leaning on this trade. But I think one of the good things that happened yesterday is that the move didn't get completely stuffed. Right. Monday's move kind of got just pushed to the sideways. Yeah, it came down some. And you guys saw me. I was playing short QBTS yesterday. Right. So I'm actually looking to see if these can get the quick lift today. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, you'd think the day before the event there's going to be as much hype as it can be, and these are obviously 100% retail driven, right? There's no institution investing in right? They all know better. that these things don't make anything and they don't really exist. So this is all a retail shell game. So then the question is, when's that going to end up, right? When's the shell game going to be over? So I think everybody, and it's almost too much, I think, of consensus of the fact that it will probably be over when the event happens, if the events sell the news. But I've just heard that so much, I almost want to think it's the opposite, where I don't know, is it going to rally and then random week later it will sell off? So
yeah, I think one of the things that I'm looking at is they have to have something up their sleeves. They knew this was coming months, like a month ahead, right? And so I'm sure at least these companies have some type of PR that they're ready to bring to the table, right? And so that's one thing that I'm looking at as potentially that could happen, right? And
They have 10 minutes. That's the problem with this whole thing. Is
yeah,
I
yeah.
keep hearing
News
quantum
flow
day.
tomorrow, I think early in the
Yeah.
morning, watch for that. Because I think you'll see like some try to attempt it, right? At least
Yeah.
put something out. Hey, we're working with this company to try to develop this, or we're investing with this company to bring this thing out in quantum. They're just gonna try to like put a fluff piece, what I call out
Mm.
there, right? And these are how PRs work, man. One of the things that I learned at Benzinga and dealing with some of these companies is that exact thing, right? Like they watch the price, guys. They're
Oh,
not
yeah.
dumb either, right?
Well,
Um,
and they know they need money, right? None of these companies can make anything because quantum computers don't exist. So it's one of those where they're all going to need money, and the only way they can raise money, especially in a high interest environment, is off the back of retail. So what they want to do is they want to, right, juice their price by whatever means necessary, and then as if they get high enough, they're going to start issuing shares, right? It's just
yeah.
they have to. One of those things where if you were this company and a
The real
couple
scummy
weeks
thing would
ago.
be to be that company tomorrow.
Yeah, like
Right in
if
the
you were
morning.
a 50-cent company that's now $28 and you're not using this inflated price to raise a bunch of cash, the CEO should go to jail, right? Because you are artificially
At least the
pumped here.
CFO should definitely be fired.
Yeah,
Because
because
the
you should be
CFO
raising.
it's his job, right? He should be telling the CEO, like, this is the time
Yeah,
we need to do this, man.
let's raise billions, right? So even if we push the stock back down to $2, if we get a couple $1 billion in capital and we raise that, then great. And then maybe we have a landing
Yeah.
to, because this, you got to remember, guys, this isn't like an FDA thing where it's like, okay, we know what we're trying to do. We know roughly what we're going to have to do to get FDA approval. We have the trials going, and then we're just going. It's not that, because these things don't exist, right? So it's one
Yeah.
of those, we hope that we can invent quantum computers 10 years from now. So we should raise money for 10 plus years to make sure that the company can exist if we get a breakthrough, right? That's how far out you are on some of these names. So it ends up being you need the money, right? And it sucks to be a holder whenever they do that, but they will, because again, they need the cash. So no movement into the open here. It's kind of interesting.
Just a curveball here before the open here. Did you see the robotics post that I put out on Twitter? It was something else, man. We need to go to China, man, because they're
That
doing.
dancing.
Yeah, did you see this thing? Like,
Yeah.
what? What?
Yeah.
That's the mall?
Mm-hmm.
Are we ready for that? I don't know if this is AI though. That was my concern, because AI
No, I don't
nowadays,
think.
you can get fooled so quickly, man. That's one thing that we're gonna definitely need in the future. Blockchain to know if something is real. I heard this secret given to me by Gary, and that was Gary V. And I think he's 100% on that. So in the future, blockchain will tell us if this is real or not. We won't have to worry if it isn't or not, right? I think that's one of the
You got a
most
community
important.
note there. You just can't read it.
Oh yeah. Well, hold on. If anybody can read that, please let me know, guys.
Yeah, that's one thing. As much as Twitter's just a mess right now, I do like the community note system. It's a little slow, but I do like the fact that it's like if someone's just talking complete nonsense, then
It'll
there's
call
a
them
bunch
out
of
on the
people,
nonsense, right?
calling them out at some point. So,
Yeah. So
stuff
guys,
is
I'm looking
plenty.
at the RSI here on QUBTS. You see how it's starting to get through this kind of trend line approach. This is when I usually look to see if it can run to the 60, right? That 60 for me is a really good level to start looking for strength to come back in. And I'm looking at it on the 15 minutes, right? So it's starting to get that spike here. It could just be a trap type of spike, but I think at some point, if they're going to run, it's going to give me that quick move here and not let me in at the open. So I didn't want to miss it here. So I'm already taking the trade. And I told you guys, I took a $10 loss on this morning. I did 1080, got out at 1070. I want to do the same thing if I need to again, right? A quick out if I needed, but also don't want to miss the opportunity. Take a look at QMCO that has a tendency of running, and that's because of the spread. The way that this one works, it has a tendency of going a little bit stronger, faster. And look at that. That's already starting to get the curve, right? The peel. So I'm going to be watching this to be kind of one of those quick moves, right? Through 9 on QUBT. We'll see if it gets a move quickly towards like 950 or 10. And we all know how sometimes they do that big bar out the open. That's what I'm looking for. And there's very rare times, and you guys in the chat can definitely suffice and call me out if I'm lying here. But how often do you guys see me take a trade right out the gates or in a trade at the bell? Not many times, right? So there's a reason why I only do it when I feel like things can run beforehand. And look how the QMCO is already getting that lift there. So that's what I'm going to be watching here. We got less than 5 minutes towards the bell. I'd like to see these keep running before the bell. Just keep pushing away from the support. That gives ability for me to at least know exactly where I need to risk.
Yeah, and a reminder just to everybody, right? Today is one of those days where I always had just a bit of when I was trading for a living at the prop firm, people would, the amount of people in the office these days was half to a third for FOMC day than normal.
Yeah.
A lot of people just said, nope, not doing it, right?
Yeah, I mean, if I was managing money, I think about it that way. I would, have like maybe some hedges to like kind of help out. Maybe if some, wicked move against my move would happen. But other than that, I wouldn't be doing much. You know what I mean? And in protection mode, if needed, but mainly on the sideline, right? And I'm sure that's kind of the approach that a lot of the big boys are taking today.
Yep. And that was, again, you would see so many people just either spinning around in their chair or, talking about the game or whatever, just trying to avoid. So again, the plan for me was always do a little scalp off the open, try to get a couple trades, a couple bucks in your pocket, walk away, watch the event like you're having a popcorn, having a good time there. And then for the rest of it, just ignore and wait for all the craziness to calm down. So again, that's my game plan today. I've got these strategies loaded up. If I take a trade, great. If not, I'm fine with that. And again, just watching. The only potential trade I have on the market is if we rally off the open and then we break through this VWAP and then start to struggle and push back down, I might take a little revision short there. But everything I'm thinking about right now is some sort of revision to the mean, just because that's the market I think we're going to have today when things are very, very choppy. And even if it's a trending day, then the way I look at it is it's probably going to be trending, and then Jay Powell is going to reverse whatever the trend is. If it's down all day, Jay Powell will pump us up, and if it's up, he'll pump us more.
ADTX mentioned in the chat by Steph, saying that had a little FOMO, sold half of on that. I like the move. I looked at it on the hour. 30 minutes going to give you a very similar chart, but like the move. It was a decent move. I think it's okay to sell some there at the resistance, right? There's nothing wrong with that. You're getting right towards the resistance of yesterday. So this is a normal level where you'll see some profit taking, right? Doesn't mean that it won't keep going, but you'll see profit taking around these levels, right?
Oh, this is one of those. Yeah, I wonder why it was moving so much. This is one of those reverse split, massive reverse split. Holy smokes. 1 to 250. Yikes.
It's like, don't look to the left.
Yeah, so quite often these things will get a little bit of pop as everyone gets super excited. $200 billion a share is
we're
what
going back, man.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it just needs
That's
to go
how
a
these
little
names
bit.
are, man. That's how these names are. Whoa. Is Signet still pushing? Showing up on my scanner there.
So SIG, yeah, that's on the watch again.
That's pushing strong, man.
The beauty of these is I don't need to think about them. It will either come through the alert and I'll take a short, or it won't, and I won't. But yeah, that's a really strong, bounce. So whatever they said on earnings, everyone definitely liked. They beat top line and bottom, so that's good.
Yeah, this is in luxury goods, right? So one of the things that I always love to do, guys, is look for kind of to see if this really is something that you're seeing spread out into different names, right? So you have Signet as, of course, the top there. You have some other ones that you can look for today, like Tapestry, TPR, right? And you can see how that one's getting already a little bit of that kind of bid action, trying to get towards 72. Capri is another one to look at. Of course, you can look at like Fossils sometimes has a little bit of a run. That's a cheap name that gets a little bit of a move. But what I'd be looking at also is like Estee Slaughter, EL, to see if maybe that can get a push. If you see those types of names fall, those are those names that are really kind of important in that. Here's the open, guys. I'm already long on QUBTS. We're getting the move to 11, kind of what I wanted to see right out the gates. So what do I do here, guys? I just put break even out. Because if it comes back and gets me here, there's no reason for me to be in it. I can come back out. I can come back in the name, right? Now, what I want to see it is just rip through 11 here, right? If I rip through 11, I can start moving my stop up even to that 11. Let's see what happens here.
Rip right off the open.
Yeah, nice little move. Look at QMCO. Look at that move right there. That's kind of one the leader that I wanted to kind of watch for, and look at that action, right? Like things like this is what I was watching for. That's a quick move here. Let's see if it just keeps pushing.
Yeah, and then with the SPY trying to, at least for now, break the pre-market high. So again, as always, we'll mark pre-market high, pre-market low, pretty tight range there. Just a wall, I believe this is all FOMC related. I think all of yesterday, and we talked about this, if you're a large institution, you're not trading the day before FOMC. So nothing happened in the market yesterday. And then trying to break through this range today. So watching, again, these are the two VWAPs I have. It's interesting that it came right to the tick up to that upper VWAP, and then now it's reversing a little bit from there. So we'll let this thing kind of mess around and flush out on the open. If it gets through that zone and then reverses, that's what I want to see for a little bit of a short, but obviously not in the first minute or two of the day. So that pop was a little bit short-lived there. Just going through some of the names, right? Tesla, watching this thing off the open, or see if we get a flush back down. Just waiting for these alerts to come through. STNE is just popped pretty big. So just waiting for everything to calm down, waiting to get an alert like on this one, GSD.
All right, guys, looking to sell the rip here in a second. If I can get a push above towards like 1130s, I don't mind taking that quick $100 and using it as a cushion today. All the quantum names jumped right out the gate, so that we're looking good here, and looking to see if I can push towards the resistance. The resistance on the chart around 1137 on the 1 hour QBTS. So I'm looking for a push into the 1130s and then taking the money.
Yeah, so SPY just continuing to flirt around that pre-market high. That pullback wasn't that big, and now we're getting another big candle here. So it's definitely something we need to take a look at. So yeah, we're getting through that price now. So on the 30-minute chart, again, it's just came up and hit that VWAP to a tick. So tell me these anchored VWAPs don't work. Just look at that. The art is drawing them. That's what we got to see happen there. So, and then right, that gold that alerted in the pre-market, you can see that's selling a little bit off the open here. So something again, right? What we're doing now with this strategy is we're observing, and if we generate an idea, then we'll open up a account and then we'll start testing. That's just how this works. So again, LSE, KB-esque, whatever, these all would have been great pre-market trades. I think it's a little bit too late on them now, but we'll continue to watch just to see if anything starts to push through here. FRO is the only one that is potentially setting up. So again, this thing shows me exactly how many shares it take based off the pre-market high. So in this case, it'd be 300. So I'm going to be risking roughly 10 cents. So there's FRO with the blue arrow. So just take the trade.
Let's go. In a second, guys, at 9:45, I'll introduce you a little bit to the new programs, guys. So stay tuned for that. I'll let us get the open here done, and then we'll talk a little bit more about that. But yeah, some big moves, guys, and looking forward to what we can do next. Let's go. I'll share my screen in just a second here. What are you seeing, Michael?
Yeah, it's interesting how, again, on the SPY here, right? We hit the pre-market high right to that tick and then reversed again, or that AVWAP from these highs. So that seems to be an issue. Potential. I'm thinking through a potential short here, just off of that zone. Again, that could be something that could be a very interesting play across a lot of these, right? If I'm going to draw these zones and use these AVWAPs as zones, then again, a good little risk reward play would be, I don't know, maybe a 15-minute or a 5-minute close below here after rejecting that price, and then just putting a stop over the high of the day, right? So you're just risking from wherever we are here to that high of the day, and just to see if we fail, back down and then test the lows. So just another kind of one-to-one risk reward scalp idea that I'm thinking. These undercut and rallies, the question is, what do we want to see undercut, right? That's the crux of it.
All right, here's the big opportunity here for QBTS to take the move here, guys. So let's see what happens here. It's been hanging on the VWAP. It's doing the VWAP like bounce trade where it expands away at the opening price, comes back to VWAP, and then goes higher. Known strategy that a lot of traders look at. Now I'm looking to see if it can go through the high and not break that wick here on the low side. It could tap it, but I wouldn't want to see it break that 1091. Of course, I'm in at 1080s here. It kind of exactly what I wanted to happen. It gives me the opportunity for the bigger move out the gates. If not, I can get out of here and then look to get back in.
Yeah, so there's the SPY there. So I'm actually going to just go SPXL.
Ooh, SPXL.
And then just try. So 50 shares. I love that little, and anyone who wants this and uses TradingView, let me know, and I can just share the code for it. It took 2 seconds for Claude to make that.
Yeah, that was really nice. I even like that one. That's a pretty nice code there.
Just to
definitely
say,
can help
hey,
you out.
Yeah, here's my risk. I know exactly how many shares to take, and then just let it go. So I did take that a little bit short. Again, stop the high of the day, a 1-to-1 risk reward there. Just trying to scalp. So if I'm wrong, if it makes a new high, and then I'm right if it gets basically somewhere in here. So 142 or so on the SPY, because again, I've got SPXL. And then FRO is the only other trade that I've taken so far. And again, stop at the high and then risking or trying to get 1-to-1 on that trade. So
all right, we're doing that liquidity pool right now. So I'm looking to see if we go right back through 11. If not, we're probably just going to cut me out, and I'm more than okay with that. This is exactly what I want to see. Now let's see if it gets to move, right? So you're getting that liquidity test on those 91s where you're getting some flush out. Let's see if it comes back, or does it hit the 80s? If it hits the 80s, I'm out there. I'll let you guys know exactly. You'll see it right here. Let's see, guys.
yeah.
I'm looking around to see what else is having a good day today. Remember, XLI, XLF, those types of areas. Healthcare financials down as to open here, but XLI pushing up.
Yeah, retail is doing okay. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. But we hit that zone and we've just kind of reversed from it. So we need to we need some sort of dig in here and push higher. So again, we're in a range and we've been in a range right off the open, but we just need to dig in, which it looks like we might be doing. So I might chicken out of my SPXL just a little bit early here.
All right, back towards the 11th, guys. What I want to see there. Now it's at
Nice.
this point, I could even raise up the stop to 1090. I don't want to do it just yet because I'll probably just get the pullback and it'll get me out. I'm going to look for it to break like 1113s and see what happens on the expansion, right? Either taking the gains into the expansion or just setting a stop in the green.
Yeah, so we're bouncing here on the SPY. We came kind of halfway into the pre-market range. We held that pretty well. And then we're bouncing, which is obviously making the SPXL trade a loser. And I might actually just kill it here a little bit early. The original risk was like 25 bucks on the trade and down like 10, right? So these are, I'm risking roughly $30 per trade, trying to make $30 per trade, right? Try to scalp out 100 or so a day. on the 20K account. I think that's more than reasonable, right? 1,000 a month, 2,000 a month is kind of the goal on that, which is, again, that's on a percentage basis pretty wild. So if that ends up working, that'd be great. And then it's just about bigger and bigger accounts after that, right? So we popped up again on the SPY and then rejected that same exact price, that same AVWAP price. So I'm just going to lower my stop a little bit. Oh, Intel, is that actually?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was literally pulling up.
I'm watching. I think we're watching for different sides, so it'll be
That's the
interesting.
fun part.
Yeah.
We did get an opening spike, right? It didn't get towards the area that I wanted, right? Which I was looking at kind of that 20. It was exact. I'm trying to get the exact level here. It was 25.39 or something like that.
Why is there no triple Intel leverage
Exactly.
ETF?
I don't think there's a triple. I think there's a double.
Is there?
Yeah, there's a double. I can find it. Just give me 1 second here. INTW Granite shares 2 times long. INTW.
Yeah, no liquidity on that guy.
No liquidity. Granite shares. Go get some more volume.
Yeah, get some market makers in there. In
There
theory,
you
they
go.
should have
Out of
perfect liquidity.
QUB test on that test down. It can get back in through 11. I'm getting out, not taking the damage there, right? Just gave myself the shot. Could I have maybe taken 40, 50 bucks? That's not what I was looking for there, right? Looking for that breakout trade, right? Like the way that we got it yesterday where I made like over $100 on the opening action, right? So now I look to see it, give it a chance to do all this thing. And when it comes back to 11, that's when I'll start paying attention again.
So yeah, so I did end up chickening out for a tiny loss on SPXL. FRO is doing okay.
Okay.
And now I'm just watching this Intel. So I talk about this all the time. This is the exact strategy I want, is a gap down, a lot of time spent under VWAP, and then a potential break back through. Don't know if that's going to happen, but that's just what I'm watching here. Tesla is flirting again with this VWAP. So if we get a 2-minute close below that, which there we go, and we just got the alert for it, that is TSLL that I will trade. And on that one, it says to trade 250 shares. So we'll take that trade. So you see how simple it is from when I get the alert to take the trade. Like, it's just, I don't want to have to consume too much brain power to do it. And then I just put out the stop loss and walk away. Knowing that
starting to get a move, might take a
I'm
shot
shooting
on that.
for 50-50 plus win rate. And of course, the SPY selling here. So SPXL would have worked. I chickened out. And this is part of the problem, I guess, with not having this fully systemized and fully hammered out. If I had just left the stop and walked away, it would have worked. But that's just the nature of it. Looking at gold, because again, we got to start looking at the ones that I'm. So again, the idea with gold was just looking at the futures here. Potential kind of top, just doing basic pattern work here. So gold on the daily chart, it's just ripping. So that's what made me focus on that. And then put in this kind of head and shoulders type pattern. So I just anchored a view out from that low and told the system to let me know if that would happen. So, if that happened in the real world or when I was trading it with Trade the Pool, I would just load up big account with GLD and just kind of trade that, right? The problem thing is the reason you need a bigger account for it is just these are more expensive and slower moving, right? So, the percentage gain you're going to get on a strategy like this is going to be much lower, but again, with more buying power, that doesn't really matter. So that's might be a little game plan for another time, something we'll watch here. So my FRO is working now. I'm up a little bit on it. The target for this one's a little bit more below at
hesitation here, guys, on BTAI. I should have got long there. It's just a fast mover, man. I'm trying to grab it there at 280s. It went to 290s really quickly. So just wanted to mention that one. Alert on BTAI.
This LSE, no trigger here because it's nowhere near VWAP, but this was one that should have been taken in the pre-market. But yeah, it's just not
Long
able to
on
get
it,
going.
guys. I'm long
So
on it. Just 100 shares here towards the threes. Got to really be careful with this one. That's why I went with 100 shares here. Want to see it get above the threes and really start pushing here. Everything seemed good here on the kind of the action here towards three. Held back the 290s, pull back here. Let's see if it takes out the three and keeps going higher. So taking a little bit here on BTAI. Just got to be smart on the risk side of things here. Make sure if I need to get out and get back in on this one, I will.
yeah, it's a crazy one. It's got AI in its name, so it's bound to double.
Hey, yeah, that's a part of it, right? Also the key, the daily chart and the $3 level as such an important level.
Yeah, so here looking at the SPY, right? So again, tell me these AVU apps don't work. Look at that. Right from the all-time high, comes up, tags that, gets a little bit through, and then rejects from it. So this is the kind of play, again, that's the idea behind if I'm going to do anything from, I say futures, but essentially using the futures and then trading the ETFs after that. So that would have been a winner. And now we see, so I make a little note, right? When I journal these things, I tag this one as I'll have to come up with some sort of tag for them, and then go from there. So the idea makes sense. That's why I'm just talking out loud, because we just want to record that kind of in our brains. Nice risk reward play. So we just need to record it and then record what would have happened if I didn't chicken out, which would have been a winner there. Ooh,
Cut
and
out
now a
there for
bounce.
29. 29.
And the market pretty substantial bounce there in the markets.
One of the things that I would really watch is that 560.75 level. We recovered it towards the end of the day yesterday. And then in the pre-market action, we kind of came down and started to create some wicks around that, eventually creating a bullish engulfing candle on the 15-minute chart right around that level. So to me, that 560.75 on the SPY, as long as I can hold today, I'm still looking at like potential upside here. And the big part of that is, like I talked about yesterday. Yesterday was that day where it tamed the bulls. Now it could essentially tame the bears. So that's how quickly things can flip back. So I'm watching to see if maybe we get some leading action here. SPY going right back to the top.
Yeah, this HQY I'm watching, this is the 11 shares. If I end up taking it here, it's got a couple seconds to close over that. Again, same idea. Something happened, bad earnings, under VWAP for a long period of time, and then breaks. The ultimate target's 2-day VWAP, which that'd be a huge move. But yeah, stop at the low. And again, this is why this adaptation of using something, use today's range, this once again using high a day, low a day, and it's just telling me this is the amount of shares that you take, because part of my problem is always oversizing, right? Too much greed, oversizing. So the reason I picked $30 is it's just it'd take 10 losing trades in a day to stop me out. And I just know if I look at this and take that size and then have the discipline to not move the stop loss around, then it'll be good. And then over time, again, I got the account now. I'm in no rush. I can just let things go. But on the SPY, we're moving. We're up now. We're back through that level, which is the pre-market level, and we are through that anchored VWAP. So we'll see if we can hold that, stick the landing. Things could move a little higher, but again, I'm not trusting any moves in any direction today. Everything I'm looking to do is going to be from some sort of fade side of things, just because we got this big FOMC on the way, this massive number that will
wash on the
decide
quantum
everything.
names. Wash on the quantum names. XLI going higher now. That's a good sign to see, guys. So definitely XLI. Big push there.
Yeah, did everyone
And
just find out
XLF
that
recovering. So keep your eyes on those.
quantum's a scam? So again, that's the other, as I talk through this kind of ETF strategy that I'm thinking about with you guys, it would be stuff like this. It'd be trading XLF and XLI and looking for where the strength is on the day, and trying to get involved in these names in some way, right? So now we just got to figure out trigger and stop loss, and then and go from there. But I do believe when we talk with these accounts, I have an account in mind. I'm going to ask the fearless leader when he's on here a little later about that, because I think it's one of those that there's a lot of opportunity, especially with all of these leveraged ETFs. So again, it would be come up with a list of ETFs, come up with a list and micro caps, probably keep the list to 10 names, and then just be constantly once a day, scroll through those 10 names, mark up a bunch of levels, set a bunch of alerts, and then move on. And getting familiar with those names would over time, I think, would be the benefit there. But
looking at a potential trade here of shorting the UVIX, but it's right on the 15-minute support of yesterday action, right around that 36.50s here. Could give it up and then start going back to the 36. I'd like to see a bounce come back to the 36.70s, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it. And that's UVIX, guys. UVIX, we'll see if it starts to break down. Look at this 15-minute pattern. You can see how it's been kind of like flirting with cutting down through here. So let's see what happens now. That would be a good sign for the market, of course. XLI going higher. That's another sign that I'd look into. I got to look into like what's leading that industrial. But remember how I talked about industrial being one of the areas that could bring this market back, guys. Why? The America kind of first rhetoric coming back in. And what's leading the market right now? Industrials from the open. So keep your eyes open for that. GE, remember I talked about the 200 level. Oh, it held it today pretty there, guys. That 200 level on GE, it's been pretty. It's been pretty. And sometimes these industrials can hold levels really nicely. That's one thing I've noticed, at least in my time trading them, especially GE. Loves to do these channel. It was in a channel for so long. It broke the channel eventually, but we'll see what happens, man. GE holding on. All those boomers, man. And I got to say it, man. I'm upset. I'm upset at all you boomers out there that were poo-pooing GE just because you guys had to deal with the downside. But at least in my time looking at GE, hasn't been too bad. I mean, look at the monthly now, guys. This thing, so many people that never thought it was coming back over here. Never thought it was coming back over here. Look at that big old round and bottom. Things been taking off, man. I still remember when I started talking about it. They're like, but it's GE, man. It's just going to keep going down.
Yeah, the SPY's just holding really strong over that level. Yeah. So I'm
the VIX did break that level there, but I got no bounce to short into there.
Yeah, I'm trying to eyeball the other side if we fade, but there's just no fade to be seen, no fade to be had. So we got to keep that in mind. If we do end up failing from this VWAP right here, we were above it for a little bit, we struggled right at it, and then pushed up from there. So yeah, if we're going to continue higher, then great for the longs. Just means that trade, there's no trade to be had there. So for me, it's if we can get back below this zone, which doesn't look like it's potentially going to happen. However, like I'm looking down at my TSLL short, and that's working. So showing that this is definitely not a tech rally. Can't be for all the tech names. If we have Tesla still bleeding at this point, this poor stock is just awful.
I'll tell you guys, man, I really think that people are worried about the political side instead of worrying about what the stock is. It's a car maker, guys. It makes cars. Cars are really expensive right now, and the consumer is slowing down, not speeding up. So if anything, sales are going to go down. And if sales go down, you have tariffs increasing, costs increase. This game is a battle of margins. And this is slowly but surely deteriorating margins with a demand side that's also going down, right? Mm-hmm. So you're affecting so many things in the underlying dynamics of the company. I don't think it's the political game, guys. I know that so many people are like, but Elon keeps talking. But Elon keeps talking. Dude, Elon's been talking for so long. Guys, it's nothing new. Financials recovering. So those are the two areas where I'm seeing strength, financials and industrials. For those traders that like to stay with the strong trade, that's where I'm seeing the strong trade, not tech. I'm seeing it being led by the industrial trade. Look at the big candle that we're getting here on the SPY.
That's
Hey,
huge. Yeah.
and what are you seeing lifting with it? Also, energy. Ah, that's an interesting one. Big lift in energy right now.
Interesting too, considering oil numbers are coming out soon. So
XLE just
USO.
taking off, guys. XLE just holding the 90 MA like it's a penny stock over here.
Yeah, and not oil. So is it natural gas? No. Uranium?
Chevron just straight up out the gates here, guys. Chevron might finally have the move that I've been waiting for, guys. Holy moly, have I been waiting for this move, Michael. This is like a swing trade alert if I've ever seen one. There's very few times I say it, but look at the weekly, look at the monthly. Now it looks a lot prettier. You're getting really close to a monthly break above this 163 and a lot on the change. Also on the monthly, MACD about to cross on the monthly. So not a bad thing to see, right?
No, definitely not.
So
Yeah, it's
that could be
interesting.
bad for inflation.
Yeah, but I'm not. It's weird. I'm not seeing. So natural gas isn't moving. Oil isn't moving.
Do I gush it today, man? Oh, the gusher,
Uranium.
the gusher. I'm looking at the gusher, man. We'll see if we're able to grab the gusher.
Uranium's not moving. None of this stuff is that you would think with XLE ripping.
Yeah.
You would think some of this stuff would be moving, and it's just not.
It's not bad. I mean, we could get a little bit of chop there, but the SPY is just strong, man. Strong.
So you see, I mean, as I go through this list, just to show people, I'm just deleting them. So like I took my trade on Tesla. I took my trade on FRO. I don't need to be alerted when that happens. So I've got
Boeing. Nice move.
just paring down this list as right SBLK I missed, so we can get rid of that as well. Right, just reducing the list over time, so there's less things that I have to look at when I'm looking for potential trades. All of these ones are still setting up to me, so I just keep them on the list, and then everything else I don't. Again, you can see the ease that I'm trying to put into this, how easy I'm trying to make this overall strategy, because the easier you make your trading, the more trades, the more strategies you can trade, the more instruments, the more time frames, all that. SPY just really, really, really strong here. Nothing that I see that could potentially all the way up until this high at 569. I don't really see anything there. Again, still don't trust any moves just because of the FOMC thing, but very hard to deny the strength that's going on here in the market. Am I long Tesla? No, I'm short.
SPCE is showing up on the scanners. I'm seeing a lot of defensive names. Boeing having a good day, almost a 4% day from the open. This is definitely a short squeeze type of potential stock here.
I thought they went bankrupt. I thought this went bankrupt, didn't it?
That's when they usually do good, Michael.
Oh yeah, that's where you buy the bankrupt stocks. I forgot that in finance class.
Yeah.
I actually
that one
I
wasn't
legit
in the CFA book, so tear that one out.
yeah.
Tear that
yeah.
page out. But
thought
these
they
are the
did go
ones that can short squeeze, man. That $4 looks like an important level. You could see a quick spike to 390s, but short squeeze type of stock for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Take a look to see if some other space stocks start to show up. That's what I'd be watching. See if Boeing can continue the drive as being the leader in the space, right? Aerospace and defense, having a decent little spike there. Not too bad of the action.
ASTS definitely not.
Those quantum names getting deleted, man. Someone flushed the toilet. Michael, you should have nailed that one, man.
I know.
I know you're going to be looking back at it like, damn,
waiting for. Oh yeah.
Should have got him.
Yeah. Scam companies going down. Doesn't surprise.
They put the flush on. They put the flush. That's for sure.
FRO got close to target there and is now bouncing and getting close to stop loss because that's just the way it works. Tesla, TSLL, that ended up getting out there for a profit on that name. So Small profit on TSLL, a stop on SPXL. So overall up a little bit realized. FRO just not being nice right now. So that's the only trade open right now. And then I watch for more alerts.
RR showing up on the scanners today. Of course, that's a robotics company, so not doing too bad there on the day. It's just kind of hanging out here at the top end of the range there. We'll see what happens on that one. RR Rich Tech Robotics. That one has a tendency of moving with Serve Robotics, so we'll see what happens. Serve did get an opening spike there. Could be some big shorts maybe coming in here. I don't know, but that was a weird action candle out the gates. 101,000 shares traded, goes up to 755s, and just completely comes right back down. So be careful out there, traders. SPY still holding their strength, man.
Yeah, just cannot pull that back at all on the SPY. That is, yeah, very, very interesting. Market's really strong right here, but a lot of these names that I'm looking at for breaks over VWAPs aren't really working. So I've got 2 potential short ideas to trade still, 2 potential long ideas, 3 potential long ideas, and 2 potential shorts, right?
Yeah. That
taking
a trade on the UVIX short. Oh, it was a nice one. It's just kind of hard to go after. Like, the thing is, I like to risk like the top end of the range, and it was just big to like risk all the way up there. I would have to risk off the VWAP, and that's tight. That's tight. You know, sometimes you get the bounce right to the VWAP, and then it rejects. But you did get a small bounce there to 3650s, washed to 3573 now, and it's going pretty fast there, and holding the 9 on the bounce, which is a good sign to see. It bounced at 36 and kept going there. That's UVIX. HQ is at the H. How's that one doing today? That one's getting hit.
HQI. Yeah, still just came up to VWAP. You can see tapped it like 3 times and just reversed. So just making sure that will alert me when that goes through.
Guys,
whatever it is.
The things that I've been talking about this week, I feel like so many traders are just so stuck in technology land, man. They're not even focusing on the financials, the industrials. Look what's leading us higher here. It's not those tech names, man. And that's why I talked about how the SPY might lead here instead of the Qs, where a lot of people, I myself included, recently was watching a lot more of the Qs than the SPY action here. NVIDIA looks green there on that screen there. I wonder how that action's going after yesterday's an event. Yeah, did you see all the bulls out there? They went quiet, so quiet on Twitter. I even had to put out I was like, yo, where did all the NVIDIA bulls go? The room got quiet, man.
Yeah, it's actually doing okay today. Well, everything. So that certainly helps. But look at that first 30-minute candle. Like, that's just insanity there.
Brutal.
Just nuts action.
And that also tells us what, right? Traders not knowing what the hell to do today. Yeah. Just confused. Some people buying, some people selling, some people getting out of their bigger position, some people getting into a bigger position.
Well, and also you got to imagine that if it's, we're not giving you insight that no one's ever heard before by saying, right, today's are usually choppy and the big guys kind of stand out. Yeah. And what will happen a lot is with these algorithmic traders, they'll just change the algorithms that are played as opposed to trend following systems. They'll trade more market making or mean reverting type of ideas. So that's likely what's happening there.
All right, guys. Smaller stock just rejected, move back above. I'm going to actually look to see if it gets strong again. ADTX. So there's a couple of wicks down here towards the 820s. But if it could recover 9, I think that's one of those names that could be coming back. Of course, that was one that Steph was looking at also. ATER was one that broke 3, looking good too. So I just want to keep up with some of the smaller names, let you guys know about them. The one that I went after definitely didn't hold that BTAI, but the ER was another one that I looked at. As soon as it broke 3, I could have taken a very similar trade that I took in BTAI. I held off of it, but it's been holding the 9 EMA on pullbacks. We'll look to see if it can continue just grinding higher. The XLF still hasn't pulled, the XLI still hasn't pulled back, and that tells me more and more. just going to continue watching some industrial action here. What I want to watch now is the airlines are starting to get a little lift there. So UAL showing up on my scanner there. That's an interesting move because these guys have been saying about warnings, right? So up action in the airlines could be a good thing to look for. A lot of bottoming on that UAL chart around the same area. So it could be maybe traders trying to get in on those dips. Love has had some good news lately. So that's one of those where the good news can come out. And then eventually, if the industry can do well, I'll keep an eye on it today. It's kind of hanging in there. 33, big spot.
Yeah, and that's what, by the time the company warns you that there's a little bit of slowdown, right? That the market already knows. So that just might be okay, we've priced in the sell-off. That's kind of taken care of now. Let's move on with our days and start to buy and see what potential buy points are happening there. Because it's once, the question is it good news or bad news? And we talk about this all the time. The question is it priced in? Because if it's priced in, then right, the market knows about it, everyone else knows about it, and it's probably time to take the opposite side of things.
And one of the things that I like to do when I look at this airline trade, I always look at the cruise trade also, right? Because it's essentially leisure, right? And cruise lines bouncing back today, right? And so I take a look at that trade all the time just to give me a little perspective into what's going on with like the consumer spending thoughts, right?
Mm-hmm.
If consumer spending is going down, you'd see airlines and cruises going down, right? It's just simple kind of conversation. Same way that I'd look to see if lodging was getting hit also, right? Things like that.
Oh, Intel.
Can we get a SPY pullback, man? I'm looking for one. I'm not getting it.
Well, it might just not give it in, but
Yeah,
this worries
right?
me because we talked about how J Powell might reverse everything. So the question is, are we just rallying up all day and then J Powell is going to come
with the
ruin our
hammer,
day?
the big bad wolf, like I mentioned at the opening today. The only guy that can blow your house down with one word.
Yeah.
Man, the
So
big
I ended
bad
up
wolf.
taking Intel there for the setup. So you can see a little blue arrow
Peloton
there. So,
up today tells me more and more about that leisure area. Peloton.
scam. I know Jeff Mackey.
I love it, man.
I don't know if you follow Jeff Mackey on Twitter.
Yeah. Is he the guy with the purple crayon? I think I've heard of him.
Yeah, he does. His dad was a Target exec, so he spent his whole life in Target. He does just focus on retail. Is the only thing he trades. Sticks to his lane. Does really, really well. And he likes Peloton, even though I think it's a scam. He just thinks at this level, his argument has always been, at this point, they're probably not going to go bankrupt. If they were going to go bankrupt, they probably would have done it by now.
Yeah.
So they've, he's right. This is ridiculous when Peloton was worth more than ExxonMobil, but he's like down here. I know he's been buying this for some time. And
it's not a bad thesis, man. I'll compare it to the story of Fubo. Remember, even just literally a couple days before the news came out about Fubo being sold to Disney, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was talking about how Fubo had this ton of subscribers. Yeah, the thing itself underneath might not look good, but the data and the subscribers are what makes it still stay around. So the same thing that I would say about Peloton is that, the under dynamics of the business, they're not there. We know that, right? But there is still subscribers and there's still data there, right? And so some company might view that as valuable enough to take it.
Well, the question always isn't it? It's not whether it's a good or a bad company. It's whether
exactly
it being a good or bad company is priced in, right? When Peloton was $150, it being a bad company was not priced in. When Peloton's $5, is it being a bad company priced in? It's like probably.
Yeah, I mean,
now that was my problem with these quantum computers, right? At 50 cents, these scams, right? It's scams. I'll just say lotto tickets. I'll put it that way, right? If someone unlocks quantum computing, then they're going to make a lot of money. So it's one of those. It's one of those things where what's the value of it? Like for qubit and all these things, like $1, maybe, because you're valuing a moonshot, right? So I don't think a moonshot makes any sense at $20 a share or whatever market cap it is. And same with Peloton. And I don't think this makes a lot of sense at $150 a share, but maybe at maybe at five makes a little bit of sense.
Love just continuing to chug along almost to that 33 spot. I was looking for a pullback on it. If I got a SPY pullback there, I was going to take the shot. It's just riding like the market. That tells me more and more how this could be like kind of more that algorithmic flow, just holding the 9 EMA, continuing to grind higher. So if they're in those kind of names, I'm looking for kind of those 9 EMAs to hold. Look at XLF also doing a very similar thing. Right. So the bank's doing similar action there. We'll see what happens. We'll look for kind of 9 EMA pullback opportunities on the banks. JP Morgan, right around one right now.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back, guys.
Sure. Spike, I have it here, just continuing to grind, just grind, higher. Right. This feels like a little bit of a low volume move. Doesn't mean I'm going to fade it, because look at the thing. It's just crazy. But it just doesn't, this doesn't feel like a massive push. It feels more like a slow grind. A slow grind higher and continuously, right, as this thing continues to push up. So, yeah, I'm not going to fade it, but this, I'd almost have rather seen us drop a bit into FOMC, and then J-Pow comes and kind of pumps us all up and gets us excited, as opposed to the other way around, where we're grinding higher all day and worries that J-Pow is going to come out and just go boo, and the whole market tanks back down 1%. So we need to see some pullback, right? You can't have it go up all day. So we need to see a pullback, and we need to see where that pullback finds buyers, right? Do we get buyers in this zone? And if so, great, right? We can take that little shot. But until then, I'm just watching these things with STNE and SIG being the next two trades to take here. But
love 33s. There she goes. SPY finally attempting that SPY again, that pullback. So this is the third 9 EMA attempt. Actually, it's the fourth 9 EMA attempt. We just got a recent one. So right here is where I usually look to either get the pullback or start trying to ride that 9 EMA on trends, right? So we'll see what happens. SPY just holding right now, grinding every pullback, getting bought up at the moment. Sometimes there could be just kind of these kind of like buy programs in the morning, just trying to grind stuff higher and then sell into, of course, before J-Pow comes on or something like that. It seems like we're getting a nice little move here. I'm even seeing the action start going to the TQQQ, which is a good sign, right? So lagging action going to tech now. So you could start seeing some tech names pick up. And what am I seeing leading? Those industrials still pushing very strong there. Did energy pull back there? Let's see. A little pullback on energy, but continued drive in XLI.
Yeah, some sort of pullback here in the market, I think would be good for it. Like I worry when the market is
doing something like this. Yeah,
it's just no pullback to show. Are there even buyers at lower prices? Is it, because right now I was saying this while you're just walking away for a second. It feels like it's like floating up. Like it's not a big volume move.
Exactly.
It's just there's no sellers in the market right now, and there's a couple buyers, and it's just kind of floating up. I want to see more of a sustained type of push higher, something that makes sense to kind of play off of, or gives some sort of pullback, that a place to buy. But right now, we've just been floating this entire time.
Yeah, I like the financials. I might take a look at taking the opposite trade of like the FAZ. You're still seeing that kind of crack. Of course, I'm looking for a cheaper name that I can leverage into. But I do want to take a second, of course, guys. You guys see it in the corner. There's some brand new packages that you guys need to take a look at today. So definitely we'll bring it to the screen here, guys, so you guys can learn a little bit more about it. Like always, guys, smash the like for this. There's some brand new action coming to you guys. Limited risk trading platform. Of course, we got now up to 200 buying power. And the fun part, right, guys, is that there's two new programs now, guys. There's the Flex and the max program now. It's not just one program. And what is this all about? I'm not flexing. It's all about being flexible. Yeah, that's what the flex is for, of course. And there's kind of, opportunities here all the way as cheap as, 5,000, right? You're 59 here can get you that. So we'll see what happens. That's on the discretionary side of things, right? And so if you can do it at the 47, if you're doing more of that systematic, right? And so there's a change here. What's the main difference? Well, the main difference there is the daily pause is a little bit slightly adjusted, right? The flexible with an unlimited trading period. Yes, you heard that correct. I said unlimited trading period, right? That's massive, especially for like a man like my man Michael Nas being smart with his share size, right? Using kind of that risk calculated approach, right? Yeah, that lets him go ahead and do those types of trades, smaller trades, and kind of work his way higher, right? And of course,
I think is huge because we talked about this a little bit where we were both trying for these accounts before we had passed them. And the idea being that, hey, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to budget, 3 or 4 months to pass it before I get into it. Well, you don't need to do that anymore, right?
Yeah.
If you are confident that you won't blow it up by, again, managing your risk I'm going to trade super small when I'm underwater and trade super big later. You have an unlimited amount of time now, so you can size up and down really, really slowly. You don't have, to me, it removes a stressor, right? You don't have that monkey on your back of that countdown clock anymore. You have all the time in the world. If you're buying it now because it's the beginning of the year and you're saying, hey, by the end of the year, I want to be funded for 200,000, and you have that long of a mindset, these accounts are amazing because, again, you're not doing that where you have to constantly be re-upping every month. Again, I think this is the biggest thing that I've seen that Trade the Pool's done.
Yeah, it's a really awesome change there, and I think it's important, right? I've struggled with this multiple times where I've gotten really close near the 45-day period, really close to it, and then I end up taking a big shot just to ruin the account instead of doing what? Staying consistent, right? That's what we're all looking to do. And when you start changing up your approach, it's an easy way to ruin one thing that I talk about always, the mathematical probability. You don't want to be ruining that, because once the math is out of the game, yeah, all systems get lost, right? And I think that that's one of the things that no matter what, whether you're a, straight systematic trader like Michael or myself, the number one thing I don't want out of whack is that probability, because that's what this game's all about, right? At the end of the day, it's just about calculating probabilities and trying to have them being on the right side of the probability, right?
Exactly.
So that's all we're always trying to do. But I love that we have different approaches here now and ability to get all the way up to the 200,000. I mean, 200,000 an insane amount when you really think about it, guys. That's a crazy amount. I know so many traders that are just struggling, just trying to get above the PDT rule, right? And trying to get into the 25,000, right? That's only 120. Right. And so what I always say is that we're here also just to kind of give opportunities for those traders that just don't have that outside PDT rule, right? Yep. Instead of trading with a broker that's kind of limiting you, and to the point where sometimes you don't even get out. I know a trader myself that is literally flagged for the PDT. And why? Because he traded more than he should have done and got in trouble for it, right? Well, don't be that trader that gets in trouble for it, and go ahead and look for a way to continue trading, to build your skills. And like I always say, if you can make a ton of money and trade the fool, well, yeah, at that point, you can make your PDT account and then take it if you want to somewhere else, right? We're not against that here. We're trying to give you guys the opportunities to continue to trade. I think it's an awesome opportunity here. So I did want to take a second here to kind of give you a little bit better description about both of these videos. And man, the market's just continuing to chug along. I was even taking a look at that NCLH trade that you were kind of watching, my friend, yesterday, I think to the short side. It's on the flip game. It's just pushing and pushing right now. But that's just how it goes right now. Let's take a look at this here. I'll show you guys a little bit more about the Flex and the Max program. Of course, my man, you'll get a little bit of some matrix here.
Oh,
The Matrix, double Mitches.
uh-oh. I don't know if the internet can handle that.
Flex and Max program, both are great options, but they cater to different trading styles. In this video, we'll break down the key differences to help you choose the program that's right for you. Let's get started. Here's how the Flex and the Max programs stack up. First, the trading period. Under Flex, you have an unlimited time to pass the evaluation. In the Max, only 60-day trading period. Profit target. Both programs have a 6% profit target. The minimum trades. The Flex, 10 minimum trades. The Max, 20 trades minimum. Consistency rule. In the Flex, you got a 50% consistency rule during evaluation. The Max, 30% consistency rule during evaluation. No consistency rule once funded. Entry fees. The Flex starts at $59. The Max at $47. Both programs also offer, of course, the free trading boosters, the real-time market data, and no PDT restrictions. So which program is right for you? If you value flexibility and an unlimited time, go for the Flex program. If you preferred a more structured approach with lower consistency rules, the Max program is your best bet. Whichever you choose, Trade the Pool has you covered. So start your trading journey today. What are you waiting for?
All right, team, and there you guys have it. You guys can also check out that video, of course, right on the home page, as you'll ask about how it works there. And don't forget, guys, we got so many new things that we've added in, guys. Of course, we got our trading VOD so that you guys can learn kind of here. So keep taking a look at this to kind of keep getting to the next level. Look for eventually a really good education course that Michael and I have been working on also being released here. We got a lot for you guys this year, and we're going to keep trying to bring you guys the value, right? And we, like I always mention, we really pay attention to the feedback. That's why I think they created this split, right? They were thinking, how can we go ahead and listen to the feedback, but at the same time, give opportunities for those other traders that want more of a fast pace. So we created both opportunities there for you guys. And I think that's so vital for traders out there to just go and find what they like, right? Like we always tell you guys, trade what matches more your personality, right? It's so important to understand yourself as a trader so that you can find strategies, and in this case, programs that work for you, right? So I wish you guys the best of luck and get after it. Let us know how it goes too, right? If you guys are on either or, and if you guys sign up, like always, mention, hey, Mitch and Michael, those are the guys.
No, I'm pumped. Again, the unlimited, right? The unlimited time to pass. For someone like me who takes, right, the idea is to take a lot of trades with a small edge, small size, small edge, something like that works absolutely perfectly. But I think you hit the nail on the head with whatever works for you, right? If you're someone who's very confident and you want to be able to pass very quickly, and you're okay with the you don't want that consistency rule because you're one of those traders who you wait for an edge and then when you see it, you swing big. Well, great, right? We got something for you. If you're someone like me who is going to take a little bit of time to do it, you're more of a grinder, then you've got that unlimited time as well. So again, I'm pumped. I'm going to try to take one of those bigger guys, and that's what I was talking about a little earlier with this new idea that I'm coming up with, right? Which I expect to take many trades a day. If I incorporate both of my trading styles into this, I'll take many trades a day on ETFs. I was going to say futures, but on ETFs and these individual stocks. So I might be taking 10, 20 trades a day. Super, super small. So for that, I would need more of that buying power, but I don't have that time pressure anymore. And for me, to be honest, that was one of the things that was really, really hampering me passing these, just having that, even though I never got close to the time limit, it was that thing in the back of your head saying, right, you only got, 20 days left, or you only got 30 days left. And to have that gone, just say, okay, I have this account. I just need to trade small and consistently over time, and then eventually I'll pass. That's a big deal to me.
It's important, guys. I'm looking at the VIX trade. Remember the one I mentioned earlier in that 50-40 range, went down a whole buck. That's why I trade sometimes to VXX, right, guys? Because when it works for me, easily I've seen it. I can make, like, let's say if I'm trading with like 1,000, I can get that buck and make 1,000, right? You just got to be able to take some cuts in the VXX. That's what I've learned, right? Being able to look for that day where it actually gives you that expansion move, and then you can make a really good amount. SPY continuing to hold here, but I'm looking to see if it starts to do what Michael talked about today, right? Where it's like it swings up, everybody gets excited, and then it comes right back down and kind of gives you another swing opportunity there. One thing, though, that's keeping me a little bit on the sideline is XLF breaking to the high, XLI breaking to the high. So just continuing to watch that, seeing a lot of bottoming in the XLV, a lot of wicks on the downside, but kind of just holding in there. And then energy kind of just going sideways here. And if I look here, of course, I always look at this kind of like in the last 10 minutes, what is doing well. Leading the action today is the industrial trade. And in the last 10 minutes, we're starting to see communications come back. The industrials are staying higher. Real estate, defensive is kind of hanging in there. And the only thing in the red in the last 10 minutes is a technology pullback. So that's interesting there, right? And so I'd watch to see what happens here in technology. If it gets weak, we might get that SPY pullback. So that's why I'm also taking a look to see if potentially, if I trade the VXX right back to the VWAP, right? Kind of a mean reversion trade going right back here towards the VWAP. But it has to prove to me first that it wants to do it and start to reverse out of here. The SPY has just been tickling on the 90 EMA now. It's kind of just chomping around right on it here. You guys can see that, right? Like it doesn't want to come back to the VWAP. And there's some days that I do see this happen where the market just doesn't come back to VWAP. So we'll see what happens here. I'm giving it the chance to start seeing what happens. Another thing that Mike always mentions about the Bollinger Band, right? You see how they're tightening out, right? Well, that's it. It's starting to get tight here. Let's see what happens here. And it's sideways consolidation here, right? At the top. It's usually a bullish sign. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, it's getting super tight here. I don't know if this is a launching pad to move higher, if there's going to be a little bit of reversal, or right, the other thing we have to consider, it could just be done, right? It could be one of those things where you had that opening hour. That's the move that took place. We talked about this in the pre-market. Now we have FOMC, all the big guys, right? They took their little long scalp on the morning and they're done. And they're saying, okay, now I'm going to go and time to go grab lunch, time to go do something that's not watching the market while we wait for something to happen with FOMC. So again, at this point, I'm not expecting really too big one way or the other. I'm with Mitch that I think if anything, maybe we pull back a little bit here, start to kind of chop around and frustrate people to both sides while, again, we wait for the all-important Jay Powell at, it's 2 Eastern, right? But his speech is at 2:30 Eastern. Is that right? I remember that right?
100%, Michael. You got it right on.
So
the press release is 2:30 is when the conference starts.
Yeah, and remember, so it's not the press release that matters. You will get some crazy moves there, but we already know that there'll be let's say there's 99% chance there's nothing. So if there is a change in either direction, expect absolute pandemonium in the market. I don't think anyone's really expecting a move in either direction. So more what we're looking for is what he's going to say and how he's going to answer questions and things like that, right? That's the idea there is, is this something that people actually kind of care about, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's an important one. And one thing that I wish they did, man, and I hate that they don't do this, is that they released the minutes, right, like a month afterwards, right? Why not release the minutes that day?
They got to redact all the swear words. That's going to be my thing. They're all sitting in the room cussing.
A lot of this talk is done yesterday. It's done yesterday. It's not done today, right? It's done yesterday. That's why it's a 2-day meeting, right? And really, it's a 1-day meeting. Let's be honest. It's just the second day is when they give it to you, right? The first day they talk, they sit around a round table. Everyone presents, everyone gives their kind of like argument. And then what happens after that, of course, Jay Powell makes the decision, right? At the end of the day. But I think that's something that I would love in the future. If there was a change, at least I always think about things like this, right? Like structure of how markets work. I would love that minutes to be released, even if it was 30 minutes after the press release, right? But at least released to us so that we didn't have to wait to see what was the real rhetoric underneath from certain Fed heads, because that's what we get in the minutes, not just Jay Powell's talk, but was there a dove? Was there someone that was like, no, we need to cut now, right? And things like that. That's what you get in the minutes.
Yeah, and that's what people look for, is how close was the consensus, right? How much pushback was there from different members and all this craziness. And I remember them talking about Greenspan and these guys, and when they walked into a room, we would just look at how thick his briefcase was, and they would place trades based off of this. So this whole Fed watching thing is certainly not in any respects of the imagination new. This is something that's kind of been around for a very long time here.
I don't know if I'm going to love this, but I increased the size there of my net P&L so you guys could see it a little bit better. But it's so big on my screen. I'm like, don't look, Mitch.
Oh, it's staring right at you.
Yeah.
I used to put Post-it notes up on my P&L.
I like it. I like it. I like that trick.
I wouldn't, you wouldn't take them down till the end of the day. One of the only thing I'm looking at is this STNE. If we go here and then here. We have STNE potentially just breaking under VWAP there. That's the only, I'm going through these lists and nothing else is getting close to the VWAP for a trade. And then just to summarize quickly, we have Intel. That's not doing well. JDS.
I should have gone after that Intel one. That Intel one today. That's a miss for me, guys.
FRO, and that's not doing well. So all of my open trades are not doing too fantastic right now. Again, stops at lows a day or high a day for each of these setups, and we'll see what happens.
All right, guys. In a second, we're going to get towards our interview, so smash the like for that. Like always, you guys can ask questions. Don't forget that, guys. And like always, drop in some questions if you have anything, if you want to talk about. Maybe it's something macro. Maybe it's something specific. Just let us know in the chat. Like always, seeing XLE pushing also there. XLF, nice little continued takeoff. So the SPY could still just make the up move here. I'm betting for a little bit of the downside. I'll let you guys know how that one works out. That's the VXX off of the 49.35 entry. But I'm risking just 7 ticks here. Nothing, essentially. Going to give myself a shot for it, and if it doesn't work out, that's fine too. Day like today, I'm just trying to get back into the green, give myself a little bit of some move forward, and just keep pushing along, right? Along the journey, right? As I always like to say. All right, guys, we're going to keep it going. We're going to go to someone that I've talked to for a while now, and it's someone that I really appreciate perspective. So if you guys don't follow him, definitely take a look at it. I'll be dropping in here his Twitter. He puts out some great video recaps in the morning for you guys to check out. Let's go ahead. Let's bring on the man himself, Giles Coughlin, CMT. How we doing today, Giles?
I'm doing great, Mitch. It's lovely to be with you. I've been looking forward to catching up with you. How's things? Hi, Michael. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
It's definitely good. And definitely, I've been keeping up with Giles for, it seems like 2 years now. So it's definitely good to see you on. And one of the things I love is your perspective, because you get to see more of that world perspective, right? How are things going around the world, not just here in the US, right? And so the first thing I'd like to ask is, what's up with the big bad wolf today and Jerome Powell, man? Because I know that that's what everyone's going to be watching today. People on the sidelines, I'm sure some bigger traders on the sideline waiting to hear. Yeah. Could there be some rhetoric of maybe a signal of rate cut in the future?
Yeah, Mitch, would you like me to, can I share my screen?
I would absolutely love that, man. At the bottom, we have a present button there. You'll be able to hit that, and then you'll be able to either select the window or full screen. Go ahead and do that, and then I'll let you know what I see there. So before we put it up here, but excited to go ahead and get some screens there. You guys know CMT. We're keeping the CMT party going here.
Yeah, Michael, look at that. We brought the party. Yeah,
and we absolutely did.
Yeah,
and
man.
The CMT, I know he's looking to grab some charts, right? That's we always bring charts. Everywhere we go, we bring charts with us.
Exactly. It's part of the law. Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead.
Joining the club, hey?
Yeah, I'm working on it. I've gone through level 1. I'm on my way. I struggled a little bit on level 2, but I was dealing with a little bit. The twins were on the way, so I put it on the sideline, and I'm going back into it. So
Yeah,
excited to get it. Excited to get it.
If you can get level 2, you can get level 3. Level 2's the hardest, they say.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. I've heard that
Couldn't agree
mentioned
more.
multiple times, and one thing I love is I've just expanded my relationships with all the CMTs out there, because I really truly learn from all you guys, and I appreciate the hard work that you guys continue to do. And there's a reason why I'm going for the CMT, right? It's being around professionals like yourself.
Oh, well, that's really nice to know, Mitch. And likewise, it's always a two-way street, and it's good to share things and to build each other up. So
yeah,
let enough chat. Let's get to the action. So
let's take a look here.
The thing to look for tonight from the Fed, it's the GDP projections. That's going to be the focus. If we look at the last sell-off we've been seeing in stocks, you've got S&P 500 down, NASDAQ up here. And we can see we've had selling, all on Trump's tariff worries. Now, April the 2nd is when Trump's going to announce to the world exactly what he's doing. And we just had another headline out today saying there's going to be, I think, trillions of dollars of new tariffs, which analysts are trying to work out. Is this something new? Is this what he's already planning? But this is why stock markets have been selling. And there was one piece of data that spooked markets, and it was the Fed Atlanta GDP being revised lower into negative territory, right? Now, you'll see the significance of that, because look at the Fed's last projection of GDP for 2025. In December, they saw GDP at 2.1% positive.
Yeah.
You've then got the Fed Atlanta GDP saying, oh, we see GDP now as negative.
Ooh, flip. The flip.
Exactly, right? So that's what's been worrying the markets. And everyone's saying, well, hang on, all these tariffs are going to hammer the trade with the US. US companies aren't going to be so profitable. It's going to hit their margins. Prices are going to go up. It's going to be a stagflationary environment. Sell, sell, sell. But if you look at the data, what we've seen a lot of weak, what's called soft data. It's been things like business confidence, consumer confidence, the purchase manager indexes, which are surveys that are given to the purchase managers, University of Michigan consumer inflation. Did you see those?
Yeah.
Super high, right? But did I tell you what? I noticed the first time. The issue with it. Now let's just pull this up, right? If you look at let's just look at prices. Here we go. Where are we? Here we go. Right. Look at this. So that's the 1-year inflation expectation. Look, it's jumped from 3.3 to 4.3. Now this was after the US election. Yeah. So in other words, the voters that voted Republican, guess what they saw? They saw virtually no inflation coming up, because they're like, hooray, our hero is now the president. We're going to have great good times. Yeah. But the Democrats, who were not, for those of you who aren't in the US, that's the opposite to Trump's party. They said inflation was going to be like 4.95%. So in other words, what this is a political reaction.
Exactly. The numbers aren't there, essentially.
The numbers, exactly. So the hard data isn't there. In other words, this isn't flowing through to hard GDP. Jobs are still okay. The inflation data is still all right. Okay. So this is just kind of fears. Now, this is where it gets tricky, because a lot of economists, they like this Michigan print because consumers will respond much more quickly than businesses. Because if we look at our own selves, we might adjust our expenditure month to month, but a business will adjust their expenditure year to year. So in other words, people look at this and say, what on earth is going on? So with all that being said, this is what to look for tonight. It's the GDP print.
I 100% agree. We've been pitching it here.
Exactly. What do they see? Are they thinking we're worried like the rest of the soft data? Or are they saying, no, this is overplayed, don't worry? Yeah. So what I'm looking for, I was looking at ING's projections for this. They see this coming in at 2.1 for tonight for 2025. So in other words, if this comes in, so they see it coming, 2.0, they see it coming in. If that comes in at, say, 2.1 or higher, then markets will suddenly get relieved. And there'll be a lot of relief, and that dollar weakness would likely correct. So you could see a lot of downside in the euro dollar tonight.
Yeah.
So how focused are you on the dollar when it comes to the fate of the market? Like, we all know that the dollar, if it's moving erratically one way or another, can be a big problem for the market. You know, we had the dollar pulling back in the same way that stocks did. I'm looking at this dollar is the way I'm kind of thinking about this. As long as we are kind of stuck in this range, if we chill out in here, I think that's overall bullish for stocks because it will allow people to do better planning on their business. But how do you interpret that? Because I know the dollar has just been, you know, the area of focus for a lot of CMTs right now.
Yeah, I mean, for me, you can never underestimate the influence of the US economy on the global economy. Really, I can compare it for your listeners to like the Pied Piper. The Federal Reserve is the Pied Piper, and where the Fed goes, literally every other central bank follows.
Yeah.
So the way I'm seeing it in terms of the dollar, it can get a bit tricky. And the reason it can get a bit tricky is because you can, if the news gets bad enough, then suddenly you can see stocks rallying on expectations of Fed interest rate cuts. So
that's what I was wondering today, if that would come, you know?
Yeah. And sometimes it's harder. So for me, for tonight, I prefer to focus on the dollar reaction because that's much more straightforward, because that will be a simple play on where short-term interest rate markets are. And if you look at where short-term interest rate markets at the moment, I might feel like I'm dodging your question, Michael, but I'm not dodging it. I'm just trying to give a comprehensive answer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, 100%.
We love it. We love it.
Interest rate expectations here we go. Right. So expectations it's going to hold. And then we see about 2 interest rate cuts this year.
Yeah.
But if the Fed suddenly see GDP as firm, and if they revise up the PCE print, and if they move up the dots, so they're saying a higher for longer, then you're going to see interest rates being higher for longer, which my initial reaction, Michael, would be I'd expect that to be negative for stocks.
Yeah.
Because I'd expect that stronger dollar and the fact that interest rates are higher for longer mean that business conditions are less advantageous for stocks. And even if they did rally on the decision, what I think is traders will suddenly think, oh, hang on, but these tariffs are coming out on April the 2nd, and we don't know what on earth that's going to be doing for businesses. So all of a sudden, stocks will sell off even if they initially rally. So if someone sort of gun to my head tonight, I'd say either sell off straight out of the decision or rally and then a sell off a few days later.
So all in on puts, you're saying?
It's so asymmetric. The risk. The counter argument would say, if the Federal Reserve show that they're reassured and they're not worried about the soft data in the same way that the market is, then that stability, because people might say, well, hang on, this is overdone. This is a natural correction, and we might sort of allow the gains to still carry on.
And that's what I think happens here. Personally, my decision is always I always say that the Fed plays the extreme game, and they wait way too long. Everyone says that they're behind on the 8 ball, but I think that's their objective a lot of the times. They're waiting to see the hard data really instead of the soft or the talk, right? And that's why I always say it's like a teeter-totter, and it just hangs out on that side until there's no other option but to start flipping it back, right?
Mitch, I tell you, there's a lot of talking heads on Twitter, and I'll tell you what I've noticed is it's very kind of fashionable to be cynical, right? Oh, the Fed's an idiot.
Michael knows. Here's a good list of them.
The Fed's an idiot. Actually, what they're trying to project through an unseen future, and that's incredibly difficult. It's incredibly difficult. And in their mind, they're thinking, what on earth is President Trump going to do with tariffs?
They don't know.
who I don't think President Trump himself necessarily is 100% sure, right?
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah,
this,
it
the
depends
news
on
sport guy,
conversations, right? It could change in one conversation, right?
exact one handshake, you know,
Yeah,
one
exactly.
wrong look, and
He didn't shake my
the
hand
country's
very
down the
well. I didn't
tube,
like
you know?
that guy.
Yeah, you know, I don't like that guy, you know. Oh, I'm
It's
gonna,
the truth. It's the truth. I mean, and this is the world that we're in right now,
Yeah.
right? And so the truth is that we have to be very flexible in our long-term thinking, right? At least for the
imagine
short
if we
term.
three were trying to make that decision, what's going to
Oh.
happen? And you know what I mean? I'll be like, well, I wouldn't, you know, I spend my whole time reading analyst report. This is my full-time occupation, and I wouldn't genuinely know what the best thing to do is. You know what I mean? So they are going to have that. So that's helpful for us because
Yeah.
we know that they're going to have to bake in optionality.
Mhm.
There's a certain amount of it is going to be, this is going to be data dependent.
Yeah, definitely.
But
And that's what it is.
The GDP projection will tell you what they really think.
I like it because what I've been talking about here is all about consumer consumption, right? And we all know that America runs on that, right? It's not just the exports and imports. Yeah, that will put a fraction of an impact that consumer consumption can do, right? And I think that that's where we really watch, and that's why I was a little bit concerned when I saw the retail data that just recently came in here in the U.S. because it did show some softer, but the market went up on it. And so a lot of people were like, oh, just shake that. No, I thought that was a little bit of concern. And one thing that I've been looking at is like new car delinquency and things like that starting to show some spikes. So that's where I think the crack is, right? If there is a crack, it's because the spending is going down now instead of going up. And I think that the things that sometimes are getting lost here is Trump 1.0 was more in kind of like an expansionary period. And Trump 2.0 could be at the end of that expansionary period. And so he could be trying to put the gas pedal on, but we all know how it works. There's cycles to this game. And we could be running into what I think he's even noticing, and he's starting to hint towards it, maybe a transition of pain first, and then maybe that can come back into that expansion.
What I'm hoping he's trying to do is to get on top of the US debt problem.
Yeah.
Because
and we're seeing it with Doge, right? We're seeing it with Doge, right?
Yeah. And if he can do that, I think that's the smartest thing the US can do now, because a stable US is a stable world. I mean, look, the US police so many different areas in the world that the world needs for global trade and stability. So a weaker US means that the US has less influence, and that is worse for everyone, because it's going to mean your Chinas and your Russias are going to increase their influence and their power, and the world is going to be much less stable. So I think if Trump can get hold of the debt problem, that is really good. And if you play it out well, if these reciprocal tariffs are just kind of, we won't tax you, you won't tax us, that could actually boost global trade. All of a sudden, you could have more trade actually going on.
Yeah. And I think that's what he's trying to do in that's what he's a gas pedal kind of guy. I don't think he knows what a brake pedal is. He doesn't have that in his car. He removed it.
It's that in real estate. Every problem can be solved with real estate. Palestine, Gaza, let's solve it with real estate.
Hey.
Kim Jong-un, he said to Kim Jong-un, he said, why are you into all these rockets, Kim? They're very, very expensive. I said, you've got some nice areas. You do some real good real estate here.
Yeah, man.
Trump is just like, build it. You know,
he's always a builder. That's what he's known. He's known to build. That's why I'm watching the industrial space here, Giles. And I think that's a very important key part here. I've talked about starting to pay attention for Trump to start making rhetoric about America first and manufacturing coming back here. You're seeing a lot of these bigger deals, right? Where he's making these big deals about AI, and they're all like kind of centered on trying to bring manufacturing here. And what have we talked about with like kind of even TSM and things like that, concerns around the global space? A lot of that is the manufacturing is elsewhere. So I think one of the things is bring that back here and look for industrial kind of growth, right? Because that to me could really kind of sustain the expansion period versus just like this AI kind of I call it a bubble, but hey, it's all what you want to call it. And AI kind of just pushing things, but not really pushing the bottom line.
Yeah, it's gonna. I mean, the US economy is a service-driven economy. About 70% of the GDP comes from the service sector, and manufacturing in the US is going to be hard to be as competitive as it is in China. I mean, that's been the unwritten geopolitical rule, isn't it? You make it cheap, China, and we'll buy it off you. So it's very hard to compete with China in the manufacturing space. So it'll be tricky how that works, how competitive that can be, and whether US just ends up limiting their range of products. I mean, because you don't want a scenario where the US makes imports very, very expensive on a lot of goods, and then that pushes manufacturers into developing nations. Like if China starts selling loads of cars to India,
I think
Korea, and they sort of build up their manufacturing base.
Yeah, I think it's also a political game. You know, the tariffs are hitting the central part of America the most, right? I saw this post Mark Cuban made about this particularly. He even drew like percentages of impact, and it just showed a lot of the middle of America, right? The part that has that manufacturing available to them. So that's where I'm thinking, like, one of the ways to earn those voters back, because you're definitely going to hit them with these tariffs, is bringing it back, right? Bringing jobs back there. And so that's what I'm thinking in the long run here. But let's talk a little bit about also energy, because we're having a good day today where we're seeing XLE starting to push. And if you really think about it, energy has been kind of sideways since that big move out of the pandemic. Yeah, it's gone down, but we all know how oil goes. It's kind of range bound. It's been range bound. I'm wondering, is there some inflation worries for kind of inflation coming back with oil going higher?
I think the big issue with oil is that there's oversupply in the market. So the permanent pressure on oil is for prices to go lower. So the spikes you keep getting in oil, this is oil futures chart.
Yeah.
The spikes higher you get tend to be on geopolitical risk. Is it Russian-Ukraine crisis? Is it something in the Middle East? But every time you see, every rally ends up being faded because with the US supply in, plus Saudi Arabia, plus OPEC, all of it is just permanently pressuring oil to the downside. And plus the geopolitical risk at the moment with global growth slowing, that's another negative on oil. So it's very hard for me to see oil gaining much unless there's some kind of crisis that impacts the supply. One report I did read on Bloomberg is that Trump might try and muscle in on OPEC plus. So he tried it a bit last time. He's open to it. So if you get some kind of supply deal between OPEC plus and the US, they could restrict oil supply and keep it artificially pinned at a price. So if it keeps going lower, I wouldn't be surprised if Trump maybe tries to do something like that, might use it as leverage with OPEC, with Saudi, and some kind of part of another deal.
Yeah, and we all know he's a deal maker, man.
It's all about the deal, isn't it?
So you mentioned the potential global slowdown that's going to put pressure on oil, and then also his whole saying was drill baby drill, right? So if you're worried about demand going down and supply increasing, right, that, you don't need to be an economist to say those two things together could actually end up being pretty bad when it comes to oil prices. So it's interesting that we're seeing this move in energy, and specifically the XLE, with oil not participating at all. So it made me start to look around and say, right, do we think natural gas might be a place? Do we think that there's these other areas of energy that potentially could be pushing up outside the oil space? Because I don't expect them to be big on solar or wind or anything like that, but with oil not moving and XLE actually having a little bit of a push up here, it just makes me interested to see what potentially is causing this push in the energy space.
It's hard to see upside. I mean, copper is a kind of energy play because you need it for technology, you need it for conductivity. It's very malleable and highly conductive. And there's some structural problems with copper, that there is not enough mines in place to physically mine the amount of demand we're expected to use. So I can see copper being not a bad medium, longer term play. You know, nothing for quick kind of moves, but something for sort of 3, 4, 5 years. We've just got undersupply of copper, and we're going to have an excess in demand as we pivot towards green energy.
All right, last one. I'll kick it to you. Any area that you have of interest that maybe we haven't brought up here that we should be keeping our eyes open for, Giles?
Yeah, let's have a little look. I think maybe,
you know, we've been, of course, talking also the auto struggles. Poor Elon, poor old Elon. You know, with those giant pockets.
How will he ever recover?
How will he ever recover? Right.
Phenomenal guy, really. I mean, he's obviously clearly driven, isn't he, by something greater than just business.
Yeah, man, that guy. He can
1 minute
wake up and,
Mars, you know, then it's this, then it's that, then it's government efficiency.
He just needs
really
something.
Activist.
He needs something to focus on, right? He's one of those people that just need something to focus on, right?
Like, Tesla holders right now hope that it's the business that he owns, but it doesn't seem to be that right now anyway.
I mean, he's getting paid regardless, right? Didn't he get that recent payment when it was up at the top where it's like, man, he's getting paid at the right moments.
I don't. He probably just sleeps by his desk or something. I don't think he's even
his
labor. You know what I mean?
I've seen him do like late night gaming streams, 4 a.m. He's just one of those guys that don't sleep, man. This guy doesn't sleep.
Yeah, I think it'd be difficult lifestyle. I think the thing I'd probably share with you is maybe something useful for today. So maybe just looking at something like, for now, looking in the futures market, E-mini, because I day trade the E-mini essentially. That's what I do about 3 hours a day. So
show us about this, because we get some futures traders all the time, and we get some guys coming over. So show us a little bit about this. We can learn from this.
All right, let me show you a breakout trade on the E-mini. How about that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll show you a 15-minute breakout strategy. So you get to the US Open, which is 1:30 UK time, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. So once you've got the Open, you can see here the volume suddenly picks up and you start to see this choppy trade. That's very sort of typical. And then what you want to look at the 15-minute chart. And if you look at the 15-minute chart, you can see that's the 15-minute opening range here. So the top is 5692.93 and the bottom is 5675. So what you're looking for is a breakout on volume. Now, as Michael and I will know, and you know as well, Mitch, sorry, I call you Money Mitch. I call you Money Mitch straight out of it. Is volume confirms price. So what you're looking for is you're looking at breakout in price. Now, this isn't just volume. This is purely positive delta. So it's purely aggressive buying. So it's people who are hitting a market order. They're not waiting. They're not buying on limit. They're saying, I can't wait. I've got to go. What you're looking for is aggressive buying on a breakout. And what you can see here on the 15-minute chart, the top of the range here was the 593. And you can see here, the first time we got a breakout was here with these buyers starting to build. And then you've got the volume building and you've got the confirmation of the breakout. Then once you've got the confirmation of the breakout, you can see there you had a good sort of 10-20 point run.
Yeah.
So your stops can be running just inside the 15-minute range, maybe 3 or 4 points, and you've got the potential of making a run higher. So
it wasn't a bad trade at all, at least, especially out the gates today. We saw the SPY do a very similar move, right? And that's a easy way of kind of riding the trend. Is there any kind of moving averages that you use on that, or you just kind of stay to the range?
So I use standard deviations. Okay. The standard deviation, the move volume profile, and then I use the cumulative delta, and that's it basically.
That's keep it simple. The recipe of success for you, my friend. Like I always say, everybody has a recipe, right? We all want to find out what that recipe is and see what we can maybe add to our recipe, right? I think it's important.
And like you see these little bits, like today, you can see like these are the trades I was taking today out the open. So I'm sort of up sort of $622 on the day. And this was just being nimble. You can see here, I went with a breakout originally. Do you see here, Mitch?
Yeah.
Went with the breakout. Do you see there was volume pushed above the high of the day on volume. So, okay, go with the breakout. And now when the price moved back down under that area, I could see, look, those buyers, aggressive buyers, all been trapped by aggressive sellers.
Yeah.
So that exit, switch to shorts because it's a fake out. So then I've moved 2 contracts short and I've made up for my losses. Right. And then on the 5-minute chart, if you look, you can see that here you had a breakout of all this negative delta. So all these sellers here got trapped on this candle. So then I entered a long here. Took a nice little long up to the standard deviation, quick $187. And then here, you can see the delta was kind of moving forward, but we weren't going anywhere. And so again, you look at the volume here at the bottom. You had 500 contracts aggressively selling.
Yeah, getting stopped out.
Yeah, and they were trapping all these buyers. So then I went to shorts. And the shorts down to that value area high, a quick $337.
I like it.
Very nippy, kind of in, out, in, out. And then I took a breakout trade and didn't hold it long enough, just for a quick $75.
Hey,
and that was it.
Some base hits today. I see that. And that's the way to play it on a day like today, especially. Michael's been talking about it. It could be that choppy type of day. And these are the days where you want to be thinking.
Yeah, base hits. Everyone's waiting.
Base hits. And I think it's important. Build up cushion. Cushion is a really good thing to have, because then when you have those A+ setups, you could really kind of take a bigger shot, right? I think it's so important to just try to, on a day like today, Michael always says it too, like try to survive until you run into that nice trade, right? And then then you have your nice day for the day overall. Thank you for coming on, Giles, bringing everything from macro to even trade setups and indicators and things that he uses on a daily basis, bringing us the charts. Like always, man, you always kill it. I always appreciate it, and we'll bring you back, Giles. So take care, my friend. And we'll see what Trump has up his sleeve, right?
Just remember the GDP projections. That'll be the laser focus.
Giles said it first, guys. Giles said it first. So I'll be clipping this tomorrow. Have a good one, my friend.
When it's a really weird projection and everything happens exactly the opposite, you can just send it everywhere, Mitch.
I got you, my friend. Take care. And like always, guys, like I mentioned, keep up with Giles, guys. He's a great follow, guys. I'm going to give you guys the Twitter right here to give him a follow. And definitely you can learn more about him also at gilescoglinfx.com. So check that out, guys. Like always, here's the link. You guys can click on it. Give him a good follow. Thank you for coming on, Giles. Take care, man.
Great. Pleasure to be with you again, Mitch. And nice to meet you, Michael. Take care.
Nice to meet you.
See you soon, guys.
Take care.
See you soon.
All right, guys, there you guys have it. We're a little bit over time here, guys. I'm still long on that VXX trade, guys. I was close to taking profits there. I was looking to see if we're going to break through the 50 spot there, but I'm going to just continue to hold this trade and see what happens. Pretty much trying to get back my money that I lost today. I'm down like 45 on the funded, but I'm just looking to see if I can maybe make like an $80 trade here. Boom, get a little cushion into the green here. And it's all about seeing if the SPY comes back here, right? Because it could come back. One of the things I look for all the time, 1, 2, 3, 4 bottoms with a reverse there, shows me more and more how the SPY is coming back here. And another thing, what am I seeing stronger, right? What I've been talking about needs to hold. So XLF here, pushing right back to the highs, right? XLI. Right back to the highs, right? So that's a little bit concerned. That shows me a little bit stronger move here, right? XLV's just been hanging on, like I've been talking about, just hanging. XLE, though, also just continuing to pump, man. Someone's at the gas station pumping today. It's looking good there, guys. So we'll see what happens there. Any last words for the traders out there, Michael?
No, I'm right. It's one of those, I think we called it pretty perfectly. You get a move off the open. That move's going to be super interesting, and then we're hanging out. We're waiting for FOMC, right? So it's not, it's one of those, if you've taken your trades and if you're up a bit, great. If you're down a bit, great. But just I think the market's going to be in a standstill until we get FOMC.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens, guys. I'm setting my stop there for 30. So worst comes to worst, I get a $15 down day. Things go well for me, I'm in the green, right? And we keep it going, right? That's one thing that I always want to keep always showing you guys also. The idea is this is a journey, right? It's not just a one-day result focus, right? If you're one-day result focused too much, that's easily when you start to almost wreck your own strategy, your own consistency from the pressure that you put on yourself. All right, traders, we'll be back tomorrow. Like always, guys, keep it going and keep pushing. I hope you guys enjoyed the interview today and a little bit of overtime. Do us the favor, hit the like, hit the share button, and let everybody know this is the place to continue learning about trading and take a look at those great opportunities that we mentioned today, of course, starting at $47. Not doing too bad. And 2 new programs for all you guys to check out. Like always, you can find it in the description below and just click the link. We'll see you guys next time right here. TTP Live.